Chapter 841. The vermilion bird flames in Enlin's eyes began to disappear. His body swayed slightly, and he felt as if he was about to collapse. Secretly letting the flaming vermilion bird guide him was too much of a burden on his consciousness. It was best not to use this kind of power often. But, come to think of it, he seemed to have refined an incredible thing. Enlin held the pill in his hand. Even though he wasn't very knowledgeable, he could sense that it was extraordinary just by sensing the energy within it. The reactions of the people around him proved this even more. He had already become the focus of everyone's attention. His small figure seemed to be growing infinitely taller in the midst of all the chaos on the Dao Plaza. Enlin touched the pill in his hand and turned his gaze toward Gray. This pill seems to have been refined quite well, but I don't really understand the standards of you lowly commoners. Can this pill enter the top 5? The dazed Gray shuddered and said in a trembling voice, I want, thump. His legs turned to jelly and he knelt to the ground. Big boss, I was wrong. Please stop showing off, okay? Enlin, Su Xiaolan, all the other competitors. It had to be said that the pill Enlin had refined had truly stunned the entire audience. Most of the competitors were in despair. They really didn't know how they could win against an opponent who could directly refine a spirit pill to the next level. Enlin had scored King 101 points on the test paper out of 100. Soon, it was time for the second round of the competition. Among the 90 competitors, a total of 7 had refined 4th-grade pills. Oh no, it should be said that 6 had refined 4th-grade pills. Enlin had refined 3rd-grade pills. An elder brought out a piece of paper and began to read. Next, I will announce the top 5 pill refinement prodigies. First place, Enlin. The entire audience erupted into cheers again. He was fully deserving of this first place. Among the group of living beings, Uncle Dongfang really didn't know what kind of expression to wear. It was one thing for Su Xiaolan to be better than him, but why was it that Enlin, who looked like a noob in alchemy, was also better than him? Was there something wrong with this world? Xiaoza was even more dumbfounded. Master's alchemy skills were actually this awesome? How unfathomable! He suddenly had a brainstorm and recalled the black dragon that stood proudly at the peak of all the stars. Could it be that Master's power had begun to awaken? Second place, Su Xiaolan. The audience cheered again. Su Xiaolan had proven herself with her strength. She had originally wanted to enter the top 5, and this result seemed pretty good. Rika, the Black Sword Lord, and Ban Yu began to get nervous. There were still 3 spots left. Third place, Fanny. The elder continued. The hundreds of thousands of spectators fell silent, and the contestants widened their eyes. Fanny? Which Fanny is this? The name sounds so familiar. Gasp. It can't be the Pill Sage's daughter, Fanny, right? At this moment, the woman in the black robe raised her head and took off her black robe. Whoosh! A perfect woman who looked as if she had been constructed from golden crystals appeared before everyone's eyes. Her feet were hovering in the air. She wore a white puffy dress that revealed her long and dazzling golden legs. Her long hair was like a golden waterfall that cascaded down to her ankles. The woman's face was exquisite and perfect, and her eyes were pure and lively. She clearly had the appearance of a girl next door, but the pressure that she inadvertently exuded made other creatures shrink back at the sight of her. Whether it was the contestants or the onlookers, they all stared blankly at the woman. Holy F***ck. It really is that Fanny. The Pill Sage's daughter, Fanny. Didn't she go to the Holy Palace of Life to further her studies? Why would she appear here? Maybe she's graduated? Gasp. She's only 25 years old. She's graduating at such a young age. Doesn't that make her the youngest graduate of the Holy Palace of Life? My God, is Fanny such a freak? All of the living beings stared at the woman in the Dao Plaza with expressions of shock and admiration. The Holy Palace of Life was the highest institution for the younger generation of the opposite shore realm. It was similar to the Celestial Courts, the United University of Cultivation, except that one had to reach a certain level of power in order to graduate. Some prodigies might not be able to graduate even after several hundred years. However, Fanny had graduated at only 25 years old. This speed had broken the record for the youngest graduate of the Holy Palace of Life. Fanny was not smug in the slightest. Instead, she turned toward Enlin, and her voice was ethereal and ethereal. Enlin, don't get ahead of yourself. I haven't done my best yet. I'm going to reclaim the glory that belongs to me in the final competition. Enlin blinked as he looked at the woman before him. He couldn't shake the feeling that she was very similar to the dragon princess that Xiao Zhe had created with the Golden Realm essence crystals. He couldn't help but turn toward Xiao Zhe. Sure enough, he discovered that Xiao Zhe's attention was completely focused on Fanny, and there was an expression of infatuation and admiration on his face. Perhaps this was love at first sight. As Xiao Zhe's master, a certain emotion began to well up in his heart. Enlin looked at Fanny with a smile. Very good, Fanny, right? Seeing as you're so confident, why don't we make a bet? Fanny asked cautiously, what bet? If I become the final champion, you have to promise me one thing. If you become the final champion, then I'll also promise you one thing. Enlin smiled. Interesting. Fanny's eyes seemed to be ablaze with passion. As a peerless prodigy, how could she back down at a time like this? All right. I promise. Fanny nodded. The prerequisite is that it's within my power and that it doesn't violate any morals. Enlin smiled. That's fine. Let's swear Dao Heart vows first. Su Xiaolan stood off to the side and looked at Enlin and Fanny with a confused expression. What the hell was going on now? Don't play yourself to death. After making the vow, Enlin looked at Xiao Zhe with mixed emotions in his heart. Little Xiao, I didn't have anything good to give you in the past, and I'm feeling very ashamed. How about I give you a big one this time and give you a wife? The top 3 had already been determined. Rika, the Black Sword Lord, and Ban Yu became extremely nervous. 4th place, Ban Yu. 5th place, Julia. The elder continued to announce. Ban Yu finally heaved a sigh of relief before turning to the 2 people beside her with a sympathetic expression. Boom! Rika and the Black Sword Lord were rooted to the spot as if they had been struck by lightning. How is this possible? I wanted to become the champion, but I can't even make it into the top 5 now? Rika's eyes had lost all of their luster as she spoke in a daze. This disparity was far too great, and she felt as if she had received a lethal psychological blow. Her body, which was constructed from blue liquid, suddenly became completely devoid of light, as if heaven and earth had lost all of its color. The Black Sword Lord howled with anguish. I don't want to live anymore. I'm going to commit seppuku. He pulled out the black long sword on his back as he spoke before stabbing it into his lower abdomen. Splat! Blood splattered through the air. The Black Sword Lord howled in agony. As a pill refinement master, he instinctively pulled out a few more regenerative spirit pills and swallowed them, which finally healed his wounds. Enlin, where did this idiot come from? Hurry up and carry him away. Chapter 842. Rika and the Black Sword Lord's confidence had been dealt a fatal blow by the arrival of a bunch of dark horses. That's right, it would be fine if there was only one dark horse. With their strength, they could still fight for first place in the top 5. However, not only was Su Xiaolan a dark horse, even Enlin, Julia, and Fanny were dark horses. 4 dark horses had almost all of the top 5 spot. How the F***ck was this even possible? They were all prodigies in pill refinement, but they couldn't even make it into the top 5. It was impossible for them to face this kind of disparity. Rika and the Black Sword Lord stood off to the side with dejected expressions, and no one knew what they were thinking. Gray finally felt a little more confident after seeing his cousin Julia make it into the top 5, but he didn't dare to flex in front of Lin anymore. Thinking back to how he had flexed in front of such a freakish pill refinement prodigy, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Mimi's eyes lit up. She was clearly a little excited to see so many powerful prodigies appear, and her voice became a little more passionate. Congratulations to Lin, Su Xiaolan, Fanny, Ban Yu, and Julia for making it into the finals. You will receive a 6th grade Immortal Pill coupon provided by the Pill Tower. Whoever becomes the champion of the finals will also receive an intermediate rank Immortal Tool, the 9 Spirit Cauldron of 8 Desolation. Now let's begin the finals. Her red dress fluttered in the wind, and her high heels floated through the air. A spell formation activated, and an intricate competition platform rose up from the center of the Dao Plaza. There were 5 seats on the platform, and it was as if 5 mighty figures were vying for supremacy. The 5 contestants made their way onto the platform, and they became the most dazzling beings on the Dao Plaza. Rika and the Black Sword Lord stared blankly at the 5 dazzling contestants on the platform, and their hearts were filled with disappointment and jealousy. Never would they have thought that they wouldn't even have the right to stand on the platform. And Lin looked around at the hundreds of thousands of spectators, and even though he was used to seeing grand spectacles, he still felt a little strange. Being stared at by hundreds of thousands of humans was a completely different feeling than being stared at by hundreds of thousands of demons and monsters. Especially those demons and ghosts, they all looked at him with admiration and fervent gazes. Not only did he feel satisfied, but he also felt a little excited. The final round is very simple. Everyone will compete to see who can refine a higher grade pill. Those of the same grade will compete to see who can refine a higher quality pill. Also, prepare your own materials. Rose winked at the contestants on the stage. The charming contestants on the stage were expressionless. They were already prepared for this kind of attitude from the Pill Tower. Which alchemist at this level didn't have a pile of materials stored in their storage rings? And Lin looked at the 3 competitors. Just by looking at their cultivation, he could tell that they were talented. Julia was at the Soul Formation Intermediate stage, Ban Yu was at the Soul Formation Initial stage, and Fanny was at the Soul Formation Final stage. After all, they were all less than 30 years old. Even in the United University of Cultivation, they would be the top students of their grade. And Lin took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. There was still some pressure. The main thing was that he didn't know what Fanny would be able to achieve if she used her full strength. On the top floor of the rainbow-glazed Pill Pagoda, a golden figure placed its hands on the railing and looked down at the entire Pill City. All types of dazzling treasures shone through the air. The entire city was like a collection of dazzling jewels. It looked around at the bustling city, and a smile suddenly appeared on its face. And Lin of the 4-9 Immortal Sect? You're the leader of a sect, but you're participating in a competition between juniors? Isn't that bullying? Not only are you bullying others, but you're also trying to bully my daughter, on the Dao Plaza. Rose's voice sounded again. The time limit for the final round is 4 hours. Within this time limit, you can start again if you fail. I hereby announce the commencement of the final round. Duong. The final round began. Julia exhaled a frosty breath. Blue dragon flames burned within the pill cauldron. This type of flame was stable, and the essence of the ingredients wouldn't be incinerated by the high temperature. And Lin was quite surprised that such a ferocious dragon could possess such flames. Gray wore a proud expression upon seeing this. Humph. And Lin, your divine flame is indeed powerful, but my cousin's azure snow flames may not be inferior to yours. And Lin couldn't be bothered to respond to Gray. At this moment, Ban Yu also sprang into action. The green moon behind her glowed with a scintillating light, and a burst of flames imbued with the power of the moon fell upon the pill refinement cauldron. This was also a very special type of flame imbued with the power of true een and perfection. As expected, none of the finalists were pushovers. Fanny paused for a moment before glaring at Lin in a threatening manner. She then intertwined her fingers together to make a peculiar ancient seal. Boom! Golden crystalline flames appeared in the air, burning with scorching intensity. These flames were extremely explosive, and the crisp sound of crystals clashing erupted. At the same time, a burst of extremely powerful flame power proliferated outward, exuding boundless flame might. All of the spectators faltered upon seeing this before raucous cheers erupted. What Fanny displayed to everyone was also an extremely powerful divine flame. This was also a dark horse, one that could compete with Su Xiaolan and Lin for the championship title. As expected of the Pill Sage's daughter. She's so young, but she already possesses all of the qualities that a top-rate pill refinement master should possess. Not only is this a blessing for the Pill Tower, it's also a blessing for Pill City. I'm sure a new Supreme Realm Pill Refinement Master will be born in the near future. The spectators discussed spiritedly among themselves, and the atmosphere was extremely lively. As competitors, Julia and Ban Yu were instantly struck by a sense of immense pressure. Rika and the Black Sword Lord looked at each other to see the bitterness on each other's faces. They thought that they stood at the pinnacle of pill refinement among the younger generation, but never would they have thought that there were already other living beings standing at an even higher level looking down on them. Fanny looked at Lin and Su Xiaolan with a smug smile. You're not the only ones who possess divine flames. My divine flame is called the Golden Soul Crystal Flame, and it can bestow upon pills a higher level of spirituality and divinity. It's one of the most suitable divine flames for pill refinement. Lin and Su Xiaolan looked at Fanny in silence. Instead of the shock that Fanny was anticipating, there was a hint of inexplicable calmness on their faces. Fanny was a little displeased. What? Are you looking down on my divine flame? You have to realize that my divine flame is more suitable for pill refinement than yours. Lin waved his hands. That's not it, you've misunderstood. We're not looking down on your divine flame. Your divine flame is indeed very powerful among all the other divine flames. Su Xiaolan interjected, but I have a holy flame. Everyone fell silent in that instant. Fanny opened her mouth with difficulty. What? Su Xiaolan waved a hand through the air, and a ball of white flames appeared in the air. This was a ball of pure yang flames, and all living beings would be struck by a sense of inferiority at the sight of it. All of the spectators, including Fanny, had their eyes focused on the ball of flames at this moment. How beautiful, how pure the flame was. Was this a divine flame? No. This was a flame of a higher level. Everyone seemed to have realized something in that instant, and some of them were even trembling with excitement. After all, they had just witnessed a legendary flame. My God, what am I seeing? This is a holy flame. So this is a holy flame? To think that I would be able to witness someone unleashing a holy flame in my lifetime. I can die with no regrets now. Fanny stared blankly at the flame in Su Xiaolan's hand, and her heart had been dealt a heavy blow. How could you possess a flame like this? Sorry to interrupt, but I actually know how to use holy flames as well. A voice suddenly sounded. Fanny turned toward Lin, the man who had made a bet with her. An extremely pure ball of flames appeared before him, exuding boundless holy might. This was also a holy flame. Fanny's body trembled in fear, and she stood rooted to the spot. She opened her mouth, but was unable to utter a single word. Fake. This is fake, right? It was one thing for one person to possess a holy flame, but both of them had holy flames? Wasn't this bullying? Chapter 843. Fanny was already scared ***less, let alone all of the other competitors. All of them trembled uncontrollably at the sight of the holy flames in the hands of the two humans. The more important a living being was to pill refinement, the more they would realize just how precious flames were. A holy flame was a godlike existence to them. Be big, boss. Your Gray's legs almost gave out from under Enlin again and again, and he almost knelt down again. Enlin couldn't stop showing off, and he was always able to blind him time and time again. Even all of the elders stood up to stare at the holy flames in Enlin and Su Xiaolan's hands with scorching light in their eyes. This power of pure yang flames. It's holy flames, it really is holy flames. An elder formed from white flames trembled in shock. I thought they were just pieces of unpolished jade, but they're actually the most dazzling pearls. I can't afford to teach them. A four-armed ape with white fur all over its body shook its head and sighed. I'm afraid only the pill sage has the right to teach such exceptional prodigies. A twisted crimson spider chimed in. They could still fight for the position of master for the more exceptional students. However, if the students had limitless potential and were about as powerful as they were, then they really wouldn't have the face to continue taking disciples. They at least had that much self-awareness. The appearance of the two holy flames at the same time created a massive stir on the Dao Plaza. All of the living beings were astonished, which was immediately followed by heated discussions. The competitors hadn't even begun pill refinement, but they were already overshadowed by Su Xiaolan and Enlin. It was as if the two of them were the stars of the show, while everyone else was nothing more than green grass. Fanny's body trembled uncontrollably. She couldn't take this anymore. This pill refinement competition was supposed to be the grandest ceremony she had ever held since her return. It was also the first historic moment when she became the new star pill refinement master. Even the intermediate rank immortal tool, the 9-spirit cauldron, was a gift prepared especially for her by her father. This was supposed to be a competition that she was going to win. Why did these two suddenly appear? Don't celebrate too early. Let's see who's more powerful in pill refinement. Fanny tried her best to calm herself down as she spoke. That's right, so what if her flames were more powerful than hers? As long as her pill refinement skills were superior to theirs, she could still turn the tables and forcefully take the championship. She no longer looked at the two of them and turned her gaze to her own alchemy furnace. With a wave of her hand, a flame burst out and began to burn. Medicinal ingredients began to be thrown in one by one. Enlin and Su Xiaolan didn't waste any more time and started their own alchemy. Needless to say, they all knew that as long as they could take down Fanny, the championship would definitely belong to them. As for whether it was Enlin or Su Xiaolan, did it make a difference? Enlin stroked his chin as he pondered. Fanny hadn't used her divine flame in the last round, yet she was still able to secure third place. This time, it was very likely that she would refine a spirit pill at the pinnacle of the 4th grade or even the 3rd grade. If he wanted to beat Fanny, then he would have to refine a grade 1 spirit pill. That's right, he was going to completely crush Fanny. He didn't want to play it safe, only to be beaten by Fanny's explosive burst technique. He was going to make it difficult for Fanny to catch up to him even if she were to use her explosive burst technique. This was the true despair. A white vermilion bird flashed through Enlin's eyes as his pill refinement skills and knowledge began to fuse into his body, as if he had turned on a hack. Can you do it? Enlin asked in his mind. The vermilion bird's consciousness replied, yes, but after this your energy will be completely depleted, and your consciousness will also be very feeble. You'll need some time to recuperate. Enlin looked at Fanny, who was completely focused on pill refinement, and he gritted his teeth. For his disciple's happiness, he was going to give it his all. Boom! The holy vermilion bird flame was tossed into the alchemy furnace and began to burn brightly. When refining high-rank pills, using high-rank flames was more advantageous. Enlin's hands flew through the air, and each and every one of his movements, including the drawing of the flames, and the extraction of medicinal power, were all peerlessly exquisite and entrancing to the onlookers. Even though most of the spectators were amateurs, They could tell from his smooth and fluid movements that he was an extremely proficient pill refinement master. As for the amateurs, such as Mimi and the 10 Pill Tower elders, all of them were completely entranced, as if they were enjoying a spectacular artistic performance. It was too perfect, too stunning. It could be said that Enlin had attracted over half of the spectators' attention, while the rest of the attention was focused on Su Xiaolan and Fanny. As for Julia and Ban Yu, what a joke, no one was looking at them anymore. Even Gray was staring at Enlin with a nervous expression. It thought back to when it had been bragging to Enlin. At the time, it had thought that Enlin was also bragging. Wasn't it hilarious for him to say that the powerful didn't understand the world of the weak? But now it looked like it was the only one who was bragging. Everyone else was really bad *SS? Atop the 7-colored glazed pagoda, an imposing figure shimmering with golden light stood proudly at the top of the pagoda. He stared down at the figure down below, and his expression changed drastically. That's strange. What rank is Enlin at? There are many signs that he's at the flame mastery stage, but his pill refinement knowledge and flame refinement techniques seem to be extremely profound. Furthermore, he seems to be restricted by some sort of restriction and is unable to unleash his full potential. I really can't see through him. As expected of the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal sect. At this moment, the pill refinement competition had already reached its climax. 5 peculiar flames lit up the night sky. Julia and Ban Yu were both pill refinement masters at the pinnacle of the spirit gathering stage, and both of them had chosen to refine 3rd-grade pills. After all, if they chose to refine 4th-grade pills, there was no way they could become the champion. There was no punishment for losing anyway, so they might as well give it their all. And then, their pills all exploded. Boom boom. Energy exploded, and all of the essence within the pills were reduced to nothingness. In the instant of their failure, expressions of pain and regret appeared on their faces. Anyone who blew up a 3rd-grade spirit pill would feel heartache. Julia and Ban Yu both heaved heavy sighs. So they really couldn't do it? They really were no match for those 3 supremely talented prodigies. Perhaps this was just reality. When they turned to look at the other 3 people, all of them were given a massive fright, and they were rooted to the spot with incredulity etched on their faces. This can't be real, they're all. Ban Yu was astonished. Julia took a deep breath before exhaling a mouthful of cold air. They're all refining 1st-grade spirit pills? That's right, not only was Enlin refining 1st-grade spirit pills, even the pills refined by Su Xiaolan and Fanny were all 1st-grade spirit pills. Enlin was truly feeling the pressure this time. It was quite clear that Fanny was working even harder than he had anticipated. Terrifying energy fluctuations erupted from Fanny's body as countless golden soul crystal flames enshrouded her body, allowing her to fuse as one with the flames in order to maximize her control over the flames in her body. This was the Pill Sage's unique pill refinement mystic technique, division body refinement flame technique. By rapidly burning up the energy within one's body could fuse with the flames for a certain period of time, thereby achieving one with the flames. At this moment, Fanny was the golden soul crystal flames, and the golden soul crystal flames were Fanny. Fanny's entire body was engulfed in golden flames, and countless golden crystalline flames shimmered in the dark night, creating a spectacular spectacle, as if she were the queen of flames descending upon the world. Enlin, I won't lose to you this time. I'm going to be the champion. Chapter 844. All 3 of them were refining 1st-grade spirit pills. This time, it was a true showdown between the pinnacle of 3 parties. The hundreds of thousands of spectators became extremely excited, and the atmosphere reached its peak. The divine flame and holy flame have both appeared. What a feast for the eyes! This is so exciting. I never thought that I would be able to see a contestant refine a 1st-grade spirit pill in the Pill Tower's new Talent Cup, which is held once every 10 years. The last time a first-grade spirit pill was successfully refined was by one of the 8 supreme stage cultivators of our pill tower, enlightened spirit wood. That was over 1,000 years ago. At that time, he was only a lone cultivator. But now it's a 3-way battle. Such an intense and shocking competition is unprecedented. Go, Goddess Fanny, defeat those 2 human pill refinement masters. Some of the spectators couldn't help but yell. Even though this was a free and open pill city, there were many natives living in the opposite shore realm, and they were more inclined to support Fanny. It was exactly because of this that over half of the spectators were cheering for Fanny. Of course, Fanny couldn't hear these cheers. She had already used a spell technique to block out any outside interference. Refining pills in such a noisy environment? Was this a joke? And Lin didn't really care. He wasn't the one refining the pill anyway. He was hacking, and the one refining the pill was the flaming vermilion bird in his sea of vital energy. The flaming vermilion bird was very proficient in pill refinement. After looking at the pill recipe, its hands danced through the air like dancing flowers, and the holy flame within the cauldron leaped about as it pleased, stripping away the essence layer by layer. And Lin glanced at Fanny to find that her pill refinement skills weren't inferior to his by much. No. He had to widen the gap. Otherwise, it would be too unstable. And Lin's pill refinement rank was the greatest limitation of the vermilion bird's pill refinement rank. His techniques and control over flames were almost perfect, but he couldn't forcibly elevate his pill refinement rank, so it was impossible for him to refine immortal pills. What method? What method could he use to improve the quality of a spirit pill? Boom! At this moment, the golden soul crystal flame exploded, and its unique flame power attached itself to the spirit pill, making the spirit pill's energy fluctuations even more powerful. And Lin came to a sudden realization. That's right. Flames could improve the quality of a spirit pill. What he was using now was already the highest level of flame. However, who made the rule that only one type of flame could be used? A weaker flame might have the opposite effect, but a divine flame was an extremely high-grade flame. If the pill was infused with the power of the divine fire, its quality would definitely rise to a whole new level. If it were anyone else, controlling 2 types of flames at the same time would be unthinkable. Alchemy was not a battle. It required extremely precise control over the flames, without the slightest bit of negligence or distraction. And Lin definitely couldn't do it, but the flaming vermilion bird could. Will it work? He asked in his mind. No problem, but you'll be even more exhausted after this. The vermilion bird's consciousness transmitted over. So what if he was a little tired? For his disciple's happiness, Lin suddenly raised his head and a confident look appeared on his face. Let's do it. The grade 1 spirit pill he refined was called the 7-star Chi vein pill. It was refined from 49 different types of high-grade spirit herbs. It had the effect of unblocking meridians, purifying the body, and expanding the sea of Chi. Now, let's show these foolish people the real show of fire. He snapped his fingers. Boom! A ball of purple flames imbued with specks of starlight appeared in the air, exuding a bright and scorching light. It was particularly beautiful in the dark of the night. My God, look at Lin. How did he create another divine flame? Is he going to control 2 types of flames at the same time? They knew that Lin possessed a divine flame, so they weren't all that surprised. However, when the demonic star flame began to flow into the pill cauldron, they couldn't sit still any longer. Holy F***CK. He's using 2 types of flames at the same time? Lin has gone insane. Pill refinement with 2 types of flames is extremely difficult. Even many pill tower elders can't do it, but Lin dares to do it? I don't believe that such a young man can use such a method. Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly among themselves, the scene that unfolded on the competition platform once again left them dumbstruck. Snap! Lin snapped his fingers again. Boom! A ball of crimson flames appeared in the air, exuding crimson light and heat, painting the entire night sky red. The flames of the mutant blood phoenix had appeared. The flames burned endlessly, and the power of life and slaughter surged in the void. This scene was witnessed by the audience and elders, and it truly caused an uproar. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? That's a divine flame, right? There's no doubt about it, this is a divine flame. Gasp. Enlin has another type of divine flame? My God, I feel like I've changed beyond recognition. I'm so jealous. The dream of countless pill refinement masters was to possess a single type of divine flame, but Enlin had pulled out two at once. Fanny was right beside Enlin, so she naturally caught sight of Enlin's divine flame as well. Her body shuddered involuntarily, and for the first time, she felt like possessing a divine flame wasn't something to be proud of. Gray's legs were trembling, and for some reason, he was struck by the urge to kneel down. Why wasn't he going to stop? Just how much longer was Enlin going to show off? Pada! Just when everyone had recovered from their shock with great difficulty, another crisp snap of a finger resounded. Enlin snapped his fingers again. Boom! A blue flame that was as blue as water appeared in the night sky. It gave everyone a sense of tranquility, yet scorching heat. No one dared to underestimate this flame, as it was another type of divine flame. This was Enlin's setting moon flame. Fanny's face paled as she grumbled internally, "Does your divine flame cost nothing? If you have the balls, then get me another type of divine flame." Pada! There was another crisp snap of the fingers. Boom! The flames were as dazzling as the sun, and they lit up the entire night sky, as if the sun had risen from this realm of eternal night. Fanny, all of the spectators, all of the Pill Tower elders, are these really all divine flames? I'm not dreaming, am I? Banyu asked with incredulity on her face. Julia silently left the competition platform. I'm done. There's no way to compete anymore. This isn't Lynn's one-man show. I'm not going to be an oaf. Cousin. Gray didn't know what to say as he watched Julia depart from the platform. Right at this moment, another clear and melodious sound resounded. All of the spectators turned toward the competition platform again. Their instincts told them that another type of divine flame was about to appear. Why isn't there any reaction this time? A living being asked. A black shadow monster widened its green eyes and exclaimed in surprise, "Something's not right. Look at the air. Isn't it a little twisted? This is a very special type of flame." A Pill Tower elder's eyes narrowed. It's invisible and colorless, yet it can incinerate all things. What a pure flame power. Another Pill Tower elder continued, "Without a doubt, this is also a very special kind of divine flame." More and more spectators began to recognize Enlin's flames. They were already numb from the shock of Enlin's flames. At this moment there was another crisp snap of a finger. Enlin held the divine flame bead in his hand, and a golden flaming dragon soared into the sky. This was a divine flame imbued with a high-rank immortal tool. That's right, this was a new type of divine flame. Pill Tower Elder, Fanny, all of the spectators. One divine flame after another flew out of Enlin's hand as if they were free, inflicting heavy psychological trauma on the hearts of all of the spectators. Admiration, envy, jealousy, hatred. All types of emotions were present. The Holy Vermilion Flame, Mutant Blood Phoenix Flame, Great Holy Flame, Setting Moon Flame, Demonic Star Flame, Heavenly Void Flame, and Golden Dragon Flame appeared at the same time, blinding countless spectators. Gray's trembling legs were unable to support his massive body any longer, and he knelt down again. "How could you be so exceptional?" Gray's words echoed the words of countless spectators. Enlin was way too exceptional. A faint smile appeared on Enlin's face as he looked at the flames. All 7 types of flames have been gathered. I can summon the Divine Dragon now. Chapter 845. Fanny was in the midst of pill refinement, and she finally fell into despair at the sight of Enlin's performance. Unlin was definitely the most supremely talented pill refinement master they had ever seen in their lives. 7 types of flames appeared at the same time, 1 holy flame and 6 divine flames. This was an extremely shocking sight to behold. However, there were also many living beings who felt like Unlin was only showing off. She turned her head and saw a familiar man looking at her. "Hey Fanny, are you alright?" At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Unlin replied with a nonchalant expression, "I'm fine. I can just refine whatever I want anyway. There's no need to pay attention to it. Are you really alright?" At the end of the day, she was only a girl in her 20s. A burst of raucous cheers and applause erupted from the crowd as a show of respect. Unlin's hands continued to dance through the air. After a while, around an hour later, why was there such a huge disparity between his imagination and reality? That's terrifying. Is this human a monster? How could he be so powerful? Gray, why are you kneeling on the ground? Julia asked with a curious expression. Hey, are you really alright? Unlin wore a concerned expression as he asked, "Do you have any regenerative spirit pills? Do you want me to give you some?" Gray was just about to crawl up from the ground when he saw what Unlin was doing, and he knelt back down again. Fanny's lips twitched as she clasped a hand over her chest again. Her eyes widened in shock. Don't you need your eyes to see when you refine pills?" Gray remained kneeling on the ground. He felt like he couldn't get up anymore. However, even though something like this had happened, no one cared about him. They were all watching Unlin refine pills. "If you want to vomit blood, go do it somewhere else, don't block our view." Everyone stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before their eyes, as if they had seen something extremely bizarre and unacceptable. They then turned their eyes toward Unlin to enjoy his performance. Atop the 7-colored glazed pagoda, the pill sage's hands trembled slightly as he stared at the man's performance. He really wanted to charge toward him, but he forcibly repressed the urge. Unlin blinked his eyes in confusion. Why was he the scapegoat? Apart from this, the other divine flames also carried out their own duties, throwing themselves towards the various medicinal ingredients, separating and merging them. Every single step was just that perfect, without the slightest mistake. A faintly discernible sigh could be heard from the top of the tower. How terrifying! It's not shameful for my daughter to be defeated by him. The golden pill appeared in the void, like a resplendent star, releasing a bright luster. Fanny had successfully refined a first-grade spirit pill. That's right, that warm-hearted man who asked if she was all right was precisely Unlin, who was refining pills. Please stop provoking me." Fanny clasped a hand over her heart as tears flowed from her eyes. How is this possible?" The elder covered in white flames slammed the table and stood up with a look of disbelief on his face. A mummy-like elder with crimson eyes and purple bandages wrapped around his body rubbed his crimson eyes as he murmured, "This doesn't make sense. How did he do it? My God! What did I just see? He can refine pills without even using his eyes? PFFF. Unlin's exemplary performance made Fanny feel like she was a bronze contestant, and a bronze contestant who insisted on showing off in front of an immortal king. My view of cultivation has been refreshed countless times today, and it's all because of this man named Unlin. What three-way competition? What three-way competition? All of that was like a joke now. Her pride had been completely crushed by the sight of Unlin summoning 7 types of terrifying flames and being able to control them with proficiency. The 7 extremely powerful flames with different types of energy and attributes were like obedient fairies in the hands of the man on the stage, perfectly extracting the essence from the medicinal ingredients. Pill condensation. An extremely powerful energy fluctuation swept forth. Using so many flames to refine pills at once was simply a fantasy. This required godlike control over flames to be able to coordinate the 7 flames. Among pill refinement masters, it was already very impressive to be able to control one divine flame with proficiency. However, What he didn't expect was that his actions would cause another massive stir on the Dao Plaza. Finally, the most critical moment had arrived. Fanny was Xiao's future wife, so as her master, he naturally had to show some concern for her. Boom. Fanny faltered slightly upon hearing this as an astonished expression appeared on her face. Fanny couldn't help but throw up a mouthful of blood after forcefully activating her secret technique. If she had successfully refined a first-grade spirit pill during the new Excellence Cup pill refinement competition, it would definitely have created a massive stir and made her the most dazzling presence in Pill City. Controlling two divine flames at once wasn't as simple as doing two things at once. Instead, one had to consider whether or not the two flames would conflict with one another, as well as how to coordinate and distribute the flames, as well as how to harmonize their attributes and temperatures. This was far more difficult than doing two things at once. Fanny was very tired, and she really wanted this competition to end as soon as possible. Lin's performance was giving her a headache. But now, there were only half-hearted cheers and applause then, right before the incredulous eyes of hundreds of thousands of living beings, the 7 types of flames sprang into action at the same time. Lin controlled each high-rank spirit herb with one hand, while controlling the 7 different types of flames with his other hand to dance among the spirit herbs. Could it be that this is the legendary pill refinement technique with closed eyes? The essence of the ice spirit grass was extracted by the setting moon flame, which formed ice crystals that shimmered within the pill cauldron. The outer shell of the round iron lotus was peeled off by the heavenly void flame, and a black lotus flower appeared. The white holy flame pushed the ice crystals toward the lotus flower to nurture it again. PFFF. Fanny couldn't help but throw up a large mouthful of blood. Even a pill sage might not be able to do this, let alone an elder of the pill tower. Lin is too much of a show-off. I don't think I deserve to stand at such a high position. Tears streamed down Gray's face. Could this be some King Supreme rank pill refinement master who came here to tease a junior? In reality, it really didn't make much of a difference whether or not Lin was looking at the pill refinement furnace. Furthermore, the difficulty of using 7 flames at once was simply unimaginable. Her name would spread throughout the entire opposite shore realm, and she would become the leader of the younger generation of pill refinement masters. This was a scene that she had envisioned many times, but now or Julia. Even the elders were astonished, let alone the spectators. Fanny. This was because the vermilion bird was the one controlling the pill refinement process. The vermilion bird was able to see the pill refinement furnace through his divine sense and guide the usage of the flames. That was enough. To be able to control 7 high-rank flames to such a fine degree. Just how powerful must one's control over flames be to be able to do this? The 4-armed ape elder took a deep breath before exclaiming in amazement. Chapter 846. All of the essences had been stripped away, and the medicinal powers of different fire elements had been injected into them before slowly fusing together. This was not a simple fusion process. Instead, it was a process where the different medicinal powers of different elements fused together before undergoing a transformation. This could be said to be the most difficult step in pill refinement. Even the slightest mistake could result in failure, resulting in the failure of the pill or the explosion of the pill. 7 types of flames revolved around the pill at the center like dragons. Extremely powerful pill energy fluctuations proliferated outward, and even before the pill had been formed, a rich pill aroma had already proliferated for over 3 kilometers, striking onlookers with a sense of intoxication. My God! Is he really refining a spirit pill? One of the pill tower's elders widened his eyes in disbelief. This could be the most badass spirit pill in history. There's no guarantee that he'll be able to successfully refine such a powerful spirit pill. There's a very good chance that he'll fail. The flaming white elder speculated. The higher the quality of a pill, the more difficult it would be to materialize it. The difficulty of concocting an elixir that was refined with 7 types of divine fire or above at the same time was definitely not something an outsider could imagine. Boom! Another burst of violent pill energy fluctuations erupted. Su Xiaolan had successfully materialized her pill. A pure white spirit pill appeared before her, and holy flames materialized into the form of a vermilion bird that revolved around the spirit pill. Pure life force fluctuations rippled incessantly through the air. Fanny's eyes widened with shock as she spoke in a trembling voice. This, holy flames and pill energy fluctuations. This is a phenomenon at the pinnacle of a first-grade spirit pill. I've lost. I've already lost. She stumbled back a couple of steps in a daze as she shook her head relentlessly. Fanny had only refined an ordinary first-grade spirit pill, and anyone with a discerning eye could tell that it was inferior to the pill refined by Su Xiaolan. She could still be hopeful when Su Xiaolan and Enlin had yet to successfully materialize their pills, but what if they failed? Now, her final sliver of hope had finally been shattered. She had no chance of becoming the champion. In the elders' seating area, the 10 elders also exclaimed in admiration. Fanny was an exceptional pill refinement prodigy to begin with, but it's a pity that she encountered 2 freakish prodigies. She was born at the wrong time. If it was in the past, she wouldn't have ended up like this. Now, only Enlin and Su Xiaolan are fighting for the championship. I wonder who will be the final winner. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of spectators were also discussing this matter. Everyone was arguing endlessly about who would be the final champion. I support Su Xiaolan. She has already refined a peak grade 1 spirit pill. It can be said that she has reached the peak of spirit pills. No matter how powerful Enlin was, he was still a peak rank 1 martial artist. If the quality is the same, then the one who takes the shortest time will win. I think Enlin will win. Who said he refined a spirit pill at the pinnacle of the first grade? Did you forget that when he refined the elixir, he even jumped a level? A grade 1 spirit pill can become an immortal pill. Pig ghost next door, are you serious? Spirit pills and immortal pills were fundamentally different, so how could they improve? I'm afraid I'm not dreaming. I don't care. A godlike person who possesses 1 holy fire, 6 divine fires, and can also control them to refine pills at the same time. Only Enlin deserves the 9 spirit cauldron of 8 desolation. Everything depends on the result. Su Xiaolan refined a peak grade 1 spirit pill first. This is already the limit of spirit pills. If the quality is the same, then the one who takes the shortest time wins. Therefore, the championship belongs to her, and the 9 spirit cauldron also belongs to her. The spectators were debating, and so were the Pill Tower elders on the stage. At this moment, an earth-shattering roar sounded. Roar. The roar of a dragon sounded. 7 different flames formed a flaming dragon that soared into the sky. It was like a divine dragon that had ascended to heaven. Boundless flames poured down, illuminating the night sky of Pill City. Above Enlin's cauldron, a spirit pill that shone with 7 different lights appeared. The light was released by the 7 stars in the spirit pill. They were crimson like blood, purple like stars, azure like the moon, yellow like the sun, golden like a dragon, and holy like a sparrow. Every light and energy was so alluring, and the pill fragrance spread for 5,000 meters. Every living being that saw the pill involuntarily swallowed a mouthful of saliva. An intense desire arose in their hearts. This medicinal pill, they really wanted it. The 7-star meridian pill was refined from 49 different types of high-rank spirit herbs. It had the effect of unblocking meridians, purifying the body, and expanding the sea of vital energy. However, those who had seen Enlin refine this pill with their own eyes knew that this pill was different. The effects of this spirit pill were definitely not limited to this. Can this pill be considered a spirit pill? There was no such thing as a spirit pill becoming an immortal pill. This was something that had never happened in history. However, it was clear that Enlin's spirit pill was a little different. Thus, the Pill Tower elders began to be unsure. The flaming white elder sighed softly. Even though Su Xiaolan's spirit pill is also of the pinnacle, but I feel that Enlin's spirit pill is of a higher level. The Pill Tower elders were unsure of who to give first place to. The spectators were also debating among themselves. There were those who supported both Su Xiaolan and those who supported Enlin. Both of them had a pinnacle first-grade spirit pill. Su Xiaolan had the time advantage, while Enlin's spirit pill seemed to have transcended another level. It could be said that each of them had their own advantages. However, it was clear that everyone was leaning toward Enlin. Just as everyone was about to explode, a golden piece of paper descended from the sky. It had fallen from the peak of the Pill Tower. The debate on the Dao Plaza slowly quieted down. All the living beings seemed to have realized something, and their breathing became heavier. There was no need to guess to know that the Pill Sage was about to make his final decision. The Pill Tower elders were slightly taken aback as they received the golden piece of paper. There were only 3 words on it: Enlin wins. A beautiful smile blossomed on Mimi's face as she slowly descended onto the competition stage. Her body swayed like a blooming rose as she walked toward Enlin. I hereby announce that the final winner of this year's New Talent Cup Pill Refinement Competition is Enlin, she said in a crisp and pleasant voice. At this moment, cheers resounded through the heavens. Hundreds of thousands of living beings applauded and cheered enthusiastically. They used their greatest passion and respect to shout Enlin's name. Enlin listened to the tsunami-like cheers and looked at the pairs of excited eyes not far away. He could not help but fall into a trance. Did he really rely on pill refinement to show off? At this moment, he was undoubtedly the most dazzling existence. He relied on his true strength to conquer every single spectator. Not only the spectators, but even the contestants were convinced. The elders were also full of praise for him. Mimi licked her alluring red lips and said in a seductive voice, Enlin, congratulations, this is your reward. Her red lips parted slightly as she slowly approached Enlin. Her tongue was faintly discernible, and her unique body fragrance was enough to tempt others into committing a sin. Just as Enlin was about to slap her, Mimi took the initiative to step back. She blinked lightly and a charming smile appeared on her face. Boom! An extremely beautiful and intricate pill refinement cauldron appeared on the competition stage. Countless people stared at the cauldron with scorching eyes. The reward for the champion, the 9-Spirit 8 Desolation Cauldron. Even in the Pill Tower's Rising Star Cup, it was an extremely rare sight to see an immortal weapon given to the winner. Without a doubt, this was a great honor and reward. Clap, clap, clap. The elders led the applause. Congratulations to Enlin for winning the 9-Spirit 8 Desolation Cauldron. Clatter, clatter, another round of raucous applause erupted on the dojo. Even Gray stood up and clapped with excitement as he stared at Enlin with reverence on his face. Enlin looked at the pill refinement cauldron before him and picked it up before making his way over to the woman in the jade barley ink garment. On the competition platform, the two of them exchanged a smile under the attention of the crowd. Xiaolan, this 9-Spirit 8 Desolation Cauldron is a gift from me. I hope you like it. Enlin smiled. Su Xiaolan pursed her lips into a smile, and her eyes seemed to contain boundless beauty. At least you have some conscience. I really like this gift, so I'll accept it. She put the 9-Spirit 8 Desolation Cauldron into her storage ring as she spoke. The voices of the spectators gradually quieted down as their eyes widened. The elders were all dumbstruck. All of the competitors were breathing heavily, and they were on the verge of collapsing. During the competition, Enlin and Su Xiaolan didn't interact much with each other. Although they were both humans, they didn't think much of it either. However, the scene that unfolded before them made them realize something. It turned out that regardless of whether Su Xiaolan or Enlin won the competition, there was no difference. Su Xiaolan would win the immortal artifact. If that was the case, why the F***ck didn't they say so earlier? Didn't they know that their previous debate was stupid and meaningless? For some reason, all of the spectators were feeling a little bloated. Gray, who had just crawled up from the ground, felt his legs give out from under him, and he fell to his knees again. He wailed in a loud voice, "Big Boss Enlin, why are you showing off again? Why do you have to show off so well just to receive an award?" Chapter 847. It had to be said that Enlin's showboating had countless spectators feeling like they were about to have a heart attack. They could accept that his spirit pill had been upgraded, and they could also accept that he had holy flames and many other divine flames at the same time. But why did he have to give them presents at the drop of a hat? What kind of **T was this? And the person he was giving them presents to was Su Xiaolan, the hot favorite to win the championship? Everyone's blood ran cold at the thought of this. They had been arguing over who was the champion and who was worthy of the 9-spirit cauldron, but in the end, they were a F***king family. It didn't make a F***king difference who won the championship. Everyone was shocked, including the high and mighty pill sage. Mimi had initially wanted to seduce Enlin, but she was caught off guard and forced into a mouthful of dog food. Even she, who had a wealth of hosting experience, was momentarily dazed. However, she quickly came to her senses and smiled in order to liven up the atmosphere. Next, let Mimi interview the champion and hear his acceptance speech. Mimi made her way over to Enlin with a hint of a smile on her face. "Enlin, shouldn't you introduce the woman beside you to me?" Enlin cleared his throat. "Su Xiaolan and I are very good friends." "That's right, the kind of friends you're thinking of. I participated in the competition with her for no other reason than to help her obtain the 9-spirit cauldron. Even though she could have obtained it herself, I felt that it would be more meaningful if I gave it to her myself. So, I won the championship, it's that simple." A faint blush appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. Mimi's lips twitched. Hundreds of thousands of spectators felt like they had been forced into another mouthful of dog food. Gray continued to kneel on the ground. He could just show off when he won the award, but why did he have to show off during his acceptance speech? All of the other contestants felt like throwing up mouthfuls of blood upon hearing this, and some of them even felt like their Tao hearts were becoming unstable. So they were a couple here to bully others? Not only that, but he had also taken the first and second place, trampling all the other alchemy geniuses beneath his feet. This kind of operation was simply suffocating. Mimi felt that her position as host was being challenged. Many of the creatures on the stage were about to go berserk. She hurriedly said, "Haha, then your relationship with Su Xiaolan is really good. I wonder how the two of you will develop in the future. Do you want to enter the Pill Tower to further your studies? Let's talk about that later. We still have some things to take care of right now," Enlin said tactfully. Rose was taken aback. Clearly, she had not expected such an answer. But she knew that now was not the time to ask. Using an impassioned tone, she once again opened her mouth. "All right then, let us once again give a round of applause to this genius pill master, Enlin." Warm applause and cheers rang out again. Fortunately, the atmosphere was forcefully brought back. The Pill Tower Elder also walked towards the contestants and invited them to join the Pill Tower. Enlin and Su Xiaolan received a 6th-grade Immortal Pill invitation. With this invitation, they could refine a 6th-grade Immortal Pill at the Pill Tower for free. "Enlin, Su Xiaolan, are you two really not going to join the Pill Tower?" an elder asked with a disappointed expression. The Pill Tower was the holy land for all pill refinement masters on the continent. It was not mandatory for anyone to join, as pill refinement masters were usually the ones begging to join. However, Enlin and Su Xiaolan's exceptional pill refinement talent was extremely tempting to the Pill Tower Elder, and they couldn't help but ask a few more questions. "If there's an opportunity in the future, Xiaolan and I will definitely come to the Pill Tower again. I hope you won't look down on us then," Unlin replied humbly. They had flexed enough anyway, so it wasn't a bad idea to be a little more humble. No, no, the doors of the Pill Tower will always be open to the two of you. The Pill Tower elder stroked his beard with a smile. Unlin silently swallowed a second-grade spirit pill to replenish his energy. Right now, he felt as if his entire body had been hollowed out, and his consciousness was extremely feeble. This was perhaps the price of flexing. Even if he swallowed a high-rank spirit pill, it would still take him a while to recover. At this moment, Dongfang Zhuangshi and the others also arrived. Dongfang Zhuangshi looked at Unlin with a complex expression. Unlin, I really didn't know that your pill refinement skills were this good. Didn't you say you were going to be a runner? Can your running companion get first place? You're cheating us. Unlin scratched his head in embarrassment. It was an accident. I knew it. My master is the best. He's the best in everything he does. Xiao Zhe gave him a thumbs up with an envious expression. A thought suddenly occurred to Unlin upon seeing Xiao Zhe, and he smiled. Seeing as you're such a smooth talker, I'll give you a present. What present? Xiao Zhe was a little confused. Unlin turned toward the dazed golden figure in the distance and waved a hand. Hey, Fanny, come over here. Fanny's body trembled slightly upon hearing this voice, and she finally came to her senses. She tapped her foot lightly into the air and drifted over to Unlin's side. She was in low spirits, and her eyes were completely lifeless. Her dazzling and high-spirited self was nowhere to be found. When Xiaozi saw the newcomer, he looked away, his heartbeat quickening. Unlin's eyes lit up upon seeing this. He knew that he was in the bag. Why did you call me here? Fanny's voice was ethereal. Have you forgotten? We still have a bet. Unlin smiled. Bet? Fanny blinked her golden eyes as if she had finally come to a realization. Her body shuddered again as her expression became even more dejected and aggrieved. All right, I lost the bet. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Unlin nodded with a gratified expression. His disciple's wife had a good personality. She didn't resist in a fit of rage, and she was a person who kept her promises. Hearing this, the surrounding people were stunned again. All of the Pill Tower elders and competitors turned toward the two people at the center of the room. What? Unlin and Fanny had a bet? That was new and interesting. Gray rubbed his knees as he made his way toward Unlin, but his footsteps faltered upon hearing this. Even Xiao Zhe turned toward Unlin with curiosity on his face. Unlin pointed to the handsome youth beside him. Let me introduce him to you. This is my disciple, Xiao Zhe. He's at the pinnacle of the Return to Void intermediate stage, and he's a member of the primordial dragon tribe. He has the cultivation base, the power, and the money. Xiao Zhe was a little embarrassed by the compliment, and he lowered his head. He wasn't like this in the past, but now, he was extremely nervous and shy in front of that woman. However, he was still very happy that his master was praising him in front of a woman. Fanny blinked with a perplexed expression. And then, Unlin then pointed to Fanny before turning to Xiao Zhe. Fanny, Soul Formation Final Stage, Ghost Tribe, Soul Creation Stage Pill Refinement Prodigy. She has a good personality and she's also very beautiful. Xiao Zhe's expression faltered upon hearing this. He knew everything that Unlin was talking about. Fanny was even more confused. Why was he suddenly bringing her up? Even though she was a little happy to be praised, what was his intention? Was he trying to flatter her? Should he compliment her back? Unlin then turned to Fanny. All right, that's all for the introductions. If you're willing to accept the bet, then you have to agree to do something that's within your power and doesn't violate any morals. Then, Fanny, you can date my disciple, Xiao Zhe. You can date each other with the goal of becoming Tao partners. Unlin's voice reverberated throughout the entire competition platform. The lively atmosphere instantly fell silent to the point where even a pin drop could be heard. Fanny's intricate little mouth gaped open with a dumbstruck expression. On the platform, all of the competitors and Pill Tower elders were completely dumbstruck. Boom! Gray knelt to the ground again as tears flowed from his eyes. Boss Lin, why are you still showing off even now? Do you still want me to stand up? Xiao Zhe felt as if he had been struck by lightning as Lin's words echoed incessantly in his mind. I'll give you a big present. Introduce each other. Date my disciple, Xiao Zhe. So the big present that his master was talking about was to give him the woman of his dreams. His master had seen through his infatuation a long time ago, which was why he had gone to such great lengths to make this bet. His master had given up on his status as a running companion to become the champion. All of this was for him. Tears welled up in Xiao Zhe's eyes. Master, thank you. Chapter 848. Lin thought about it for a moment before deciding that he had to fight for his disciple's happiness. Lin, all the spectators. Boom! Besides, I lost the bet. So what if I give him a chance? I don't regret it. Fanny, please reconsider. The white flame figure urged. You. Fanny pointed a trembling finger at Lin with an aggrieved expression. How could you do this? How could you bully me like this? All of the Pill Tower elders finally exploded with rage. Even though things had developed in a very dramatic fashion, it seemed like both the male and female protagonists were extremely serious about this. Could this really be fate? The golden figure flicked a finger at Fanny's forehead. Silly girl, you're throwing yourself into this as well. Dominic slapped his forehead. Fate be damned. How did things get to this point? The golden figure's hands shattered the guardrail. Meanwhile, on the Dow Plaza's competition platform, the two of them stared at one another. Calm down. Don't be rash. Dominic, calm down first and see how things develop. If Fanny really... I'll kill them. Lin, you can't. Fanny. A Pill Tower elder yelled. Dominic turned toward Xiao Zhe, and he could see that he was also extremely serious. The golden figure murmured to himself, as if he was trying his best to repress his emotions. Fanny's father was most likely Dominic, who was also known as the Pill Sage. He was very famous, and he was also a powerful figure in the opposite shore realm. Furthermore, he was very open-minded and progressive, and it could be said that he treated all of the tribes on the continent equally, so he had a very wide network of friends. This was the first time they had encountered someone who was looking for a partner for his disciple through a bet. You're proud, confident, beautiful, and powerful. Your every smile is like the most beautiful thing in this world. I think this is fate. I've dreamed for countless years, and the heavens have finally allowed you to appear before me. Can you become my friend? Impudent demonic dragon! How dare you covet the daughter of the Pill Sage? The Crimson Spider Elder charged toward Xiao Zhe, only to be rooted to the spot by Dongfang Zhuangshi. What if I'm the one to object? A golden figure abruptly appeared between Fanny and Xiaozi. His figure was tall and proud, and his body was elegant and graceful. I'm Fanny's father, the golden figure replied. At this time, Lin stood out. He pointed at the group of Pill Tower elders and said loudly, "They are a match made in heaven. How can you demons oppose them?" Countless onlookers also looked at the woman in shock. Dominic's body trembled as he looked at his daughter in shock. In any case, Xiaozi was so touched that he couldn't control himself. However, the other living beings weren't the same. Lin, Dominic saw a hint of determination and anticipation in the woman's eyes. As soon as Fanny finished speaking, Xiaozi's eyes flashed. Xiaozi stared at Fanny with sincerity in his eyes. But Fanny bit her lower lip. He's just a kid, a hint of immaturity appeared on the man's face. Fellow Taoist Fanny, I've actually already reached the age where I can mate. The reason why I became smaller in the past was so that I could be more compatible with Master Dominic. Father, I want to give it a try. Unlin turned toward the golden figure to find that he also had the appearance of a human with sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. He was quite handsome, but his skin was also golden. As the daughter of the Pill Sage, no one has ever had the courage to say something like this to me. This answer once again struck countless people in the arena until they were crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. There was no helping it. The bet that Unlin wanted Fanny to fulfill was simply far too shocking. Fanny. Father. Just give me and Fanny a chance. I'll do my best. Xiaozi spoke with sincerity in his eyes. Unlin was immediately displeased. What do you mean I'm bullying you? Where else can I find someone as exceptional as Xiaozi? Aside from me, who else is more exceptional than him? This man was way too terrifying. Fanny. Fanny pursed her lips and harumphed in a slightly haughty manner. Since you lost the bet, then I'll give you a chance. Xiaozi's powers are far beyond our reach. So, she wasn't disgusted? After that, Xiaozi seemed to have mustered up his courage as he stared at Fanny with his dark, spirited eyes. I'm not very good at expressing my emotions, but when I first laid eyes on you, I knew that you were the right person. Su Xiaolan couldn't help but massage her brows. Unlin's imagination and actions had once again refreshed her imagination. In all honesty, was Unlin really not afraid of being slapped to death by the Pill Sage? This was the first time that Fanny had said so many words in a row, and she stared directly at her father. On the top floor of the 7-colored glazed pagoda. The daughter of the Pill Sage is an exalted woman. She's not someone you can mess with. Some of the elders were extremely enraged. This was far too serious for them to bear. Fanny lowered her head in a rare display as she intertwined her fingers together. Fanny's breathing was a little unsteady, and she unconsciously intertwined her fingers together. She stole a glance at Xiaozi before averting her gaze. All of the elders flared up with rage. Unlin. Dominic looked at Xiaozi before turning to Fanny. How can you tolerate such a shameless dragon tribe cultivator? He knows who I am, but he still stepped forward without any hesitation to express his feelings. From this, it can be seen that he has a scorching heart for me. A handsome man with intricate dragon horns, fair skin, and black eyes appeared before Fanny. Think about it, if someone suddenly presented the lover of their dreams to you, wouldn't you be touched? He couldn't help but turn to look at the handsome man beside him, the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal sect, Unlin. Father. Fanny pursed her lips with a dejected expression. I'm sorry I failed to live up to your expectations. I didn't become the champion, and I made a bet and lost the bet. All of the spectators, including Unlin and Su Xiaolan, convulsed as they grumbled internally. Xiaozi had King maxed out his love lines. Deathly silence ensued, and one could hear a pin drop. All of the spectators drew a sharp intake of breath. Unlin glared at the uninvited guest. Who the hell do you think you are? Fanny finally spoke. Her voice was no longer filled with indignation and resentment. Instead, it was tinged with unease and a hint of indescribable curiosity. Why, you're telling the truth? The feelings you have toward me and everything you've done in the past are all real? Fanny blushed slightly. I think he's pretty brave. This was the first time someone of the opposite sex had publicly expressed their love to her. She couldn't describe what this was like, but her heart was beating a little faster. The man was looking at his beloved disciple with a gratified expression. There was encouragement and love in his eyes, as well as a hint of confidence and calmness. This was the first time someone of the opposite sex had expressed their love to her in public. She couldn't describe what this was like, but her heart was beating a little faster. From the look in her eyes, it looked like she was serious. What the F***ck was this supposed to be? Crack. Bam. I'm a shut-in dragon who has been a shut-in for countless years, so I'm not very good with words. I once used the Golden Realm Essence crystals to create a dragon princess according to my most perfect dream, and that dragon princess spent countless years with me, all of the spectators. To their surprise, Xiaozi spoke first before he had a chance to speak. He was like a bashful little girl who didn't know what to do. Until one day, I felt as if I had seen a living dragon princess. Fanny, aside from the fact that you don't have dragon horns, you're exactly the same as the dragon princess of my dreams. They wanted a master like this as well. And Lin was extremely gratified. His master had helped his disciple to this extent, and the disciple hadn't embarrassed his master. Instead, he was unleashing a frenzy of attacks on his target. This was the kind of love that would silently give him, only to suddenly give him a pleasant surprise. Xiaozi immediately pointed to the sky. I can swear to the heavens. Xiaozi was extremely touched. He could sense Lin's concern and love for him. Chapter 849. Dominic was an open-minded person, but he wasn't a casual person. This matter concerned his daughter's future happiness, so he couldn't overthink it no matter what. Dominic fell into a dilemma. This was a very difficult question. He was at a complete loss for what to do, but he still had to respect his daughter's decision, so he nodded with difficulty. Fanny, I won't interfere with Xiao Zhe's affairs, but you have to be decisive. Also, if you're being bullied, tell me, boom. An extremely terrifying aura soared into the sky, and both Lin and Xiao Zhe were struck by a sense of suffocating pressure. This was the power of a Tao integration stage, super mighty figure. Tell me, and I'll make them regret living in this world. Dominic spoke in an indifferent voice, but the determination in his eyes made it impossible for anyone to doubt his words. Perhaps this was the only thing a father could do for his daughter's happiness. The celestial Dharch had bragged to him not long ago about the little war god of the celestial court, Lin, who was always able to surprise everyone. Even though he had a lot of secrets, he wasn't a bad person. On the contrary, he was very persistent and had a bottom line, and his disciple also seemed to be very obedient. This was why Dominic didn't choose to strike immediately. His daughter was going to fall in love sooner or later, so he would just let her be. Fanny and Xiao Zhe both faltered upon hearing this. Dominic had agreed, and Lin and Su Xiaolan were also quite surprised. It appeared that things were going to be easier than they had imagined. They had thought that they would have to spend a bit more time persuading him. However, what Lin and the others didn't expect was just how much of a struggle Dominic had put up during that period of time. Furthermore, the Celestial Dharch had coincidentally assisted Lin and his team, which was also the most important factor that had allowed things to go so smoothly. Fanny, this is great. A blissful smile appeared on Xiao Zhe's handsome face. He couldn't repress his emotions any longer, and he rushed over to pick Fanny up. Splat! Xiao Zhe was slammed into the ground by Dominic's palm, and he didn't even have any chance to resist. Lin, humph! You better know your place. Otherwise, I'll kill you right now. Dominic warned with a vicious glint in his eyes. Xiaozi crawled up from the ground with an embarrassed smile on his face. Okay, Dad. I don't have any relatives, so we'll be family from now on. The corner of Dominic's mouth twitched. Fanny chuckled with a hand over her mouth. For some reason, she didn't feel any disgust toward Xiaozi's shameless pursuit. Instead, she felt an indescribable sense of bliss in her heart. The Pill Saint actually agreed for his daughter to be with that dragon? An elder's eyes were dull as he pinched the arm of the four-armed ape beside him. Ouch! Why are you pinching me? The four-armed ape elder jumped up. I want to see if I'm dreaming, the elder replied. Four-armed ape exploded. Then pinch yourself. The elder replied, I'm afraid of pain. Four-armed ape. Just like that, Xiaozi and Fanny officially became friends. All of the living beings were in a daze. The bizarre developments had far exceeded their imaginations. Not only did Lin show off to them during the pill refinement competition, but now, he even converted the Pill Saint's daughter from an enemy into a friend. Furthermore, she was his disciple's girlfriend. They wouldn't even dare to dream about something like this under normal circumstances, but Enlin had managed to do it. They were sure that Enlin's legendary feats would soon spread throughout the entire Pill City and even the opposite shore realm. No ghost would dare to underestimate this mysterious and powerful pill refinement master. The pill refinement competition drew to a close amid a fireworks display. Gray, who was kneeling on the ground, was forcibly lifted up by Julia. Julia felt like her cousin might have developed some sort of mental problem as he kept muttering nonsense like, "Big Boss Enlin is showing off so much, please come and carry me." Sigh, this child is always spouting nonsense. He's most likely a cripple. He should be fine after a good beating. Julia glanced at the legendary man with a dejected expression before taking her cousin to recuperate. The recuperation scene was not suitable for children, so they had to find a secluded place to do it. Xiaozi stood beside Fanny with a shy expression as they chatted about some interesting cultivation stories. He was always able to encounter many interesting things whenever he was with Enlin, and the young woman would often burst into laughter. Dongfang Zhuangshi's opinion of Enlin changed from admiration to admiration for the first time upon seeing this, and he couldn't help but praise. Enlin's maneuvering skills are far superior to mine. Su Xiaolan stood beside Enlin and asked in a low voice, "How did you know that Xiaozi was interested in Fanny?" I immediately thought of the Golden Realm essence crystals as soon as Fanny appeared, so I naturally turned to look at Xiaozi. However, I discovered that Xiaozi was staring at Fanny as if he had lost his soul. It was love at first sight. That's not all. Later on, when I was concocting pills and putting on a show, Xiaozi was still looking at Fanny. I can't take this lying down. I'm so handsome and so badass, why would Xiaozi look at her? Enlin was unconvinced. Su Xiaolan. This is indeed the power of love. Among the 90 or so participants, 80 of them were planning to join the Pill Tower. Unfortunately, the two most dazzling contestants didn't join the Pill Tower, which was quite a pity. Furthermore, the third-ranked Fanny had been abducted by them. Her heart had been abducted. After a brief interaction with Xiaozi, Dominic discovered to his sorrow that his daughter really did seem to have developed a crush on Xiaozi. What the F***ck, Xiaozi, so you're a member of the 4-9 Immortal sect. Ah. So this Enlin is the same Enlin as the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal sect? Hee, sorry about that, but our naming style is different from yours, so it's very easy to get confused. Come to the 4-9 Immortal sect to play? Sure. I want to go to the Kingdom of the 9 States too. Dominic. Why did his daughter seem to have been abducted a little too quickly? Dominic looked up into the sky. His heart felt so heavy. Meanwhile, in a certain space in the opposite shore realm, a blue bat flew through the sky, and its black and white eyes surveyed the entire area within a radius of over 500 kilometers. No disguise or concealment could escape its eyes. Beside it stood a red turtle, which was holding a silver divination in its hand. Your Majesty, the 3 immortal beasts at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage have already sealed off the border of the opposite shore realm with the Infernal Realm seal, but it has expended a lot of energy, so we only have less than 5 days left, the red turtle reported. Beside the red tortoise was the Divine Bat Emperor, who ruled over an entire realm. That's enough. Where's our next stop? The Divine Bat Emperor asked. The divination indicates that there's a very good chance that they're going to Pill City to participate in the pill refinement competition, the red turtle replied with a hesitant expression. The Divine Bat Emperor was silent for a moment before asking, "Did you not rest well?" The red turtle. I don't really believe it myself, but the divination indicates that they're going to participate in the pill refinement competition instead of fleeing for their lives. Are they afraid that no one will know where they are? Even a fool wouldn't do something like that, right? The Divine Bat Emperor was getting impatient. We're in a hurry, so let's not waste time on useless things. A hesitant expression appeared on the red turtle's face. Then should we choose our next stop? The Divine Bat Emperor was silent for a moment before making a voice transmission talisman. Soon, a voice sounded from within. Divine Bat Emperor? How did you find me? Pill Sage, I need your help. I'll send you a few auras, and you can use your divine sense to see if they're in Pill City. No problem. Moments later, the Pill Sage looked at Enlin, Xiao Zhe, and the others before falling into deep thought. What a coincidence. He was just trying to figure out how to get rid of these people who were trying to kidnap his daughter. Who would have thought that an opportunity would come so quickly? Was the heavens helping him? Dominic looked at the group of people before him, and a joyful smile appeared on his face as he sensed the auras from the voice transmission talisman. Chapter 850. Divine Bat Emperor, you really are my lucky star. Dominic was just about to admit that Enlin and the others were there when he heard his daughter's bell-like laughter. He couldn't help but look at her. Fanny had a very happy smile on her face, and it was as if all of her grief and disappointment from her failed pill refinement had been swept away. She had lost the glory of being the champion, but she had gained something else important. Humph, you really know how to deceive a little girl. Receive your retribution. Dominic gritted his teeth, but he was still smiling at his daughter. His heart ached, but at the same time, he felt happy and gratified. It was a very strange feeling. Hey, Pill Saint, are they in Pill City or not? Pill Saint? Hurry up and reply. Dominic finally lost his patience and said, No, Scram. Divine Bat Emperor. The alchemy sage had a strange temper and was not to be trifled with. This was something that many super almighties knew. The Divine Bat Emperor didn't find this strange. As for the Pill Sage's denial, it believed him. After all, as a dignified Pill Saint, there was no reason for him to protect a group of unrelated people. Let's go to the next place. The Divine Bat Emperor spread open its massive blue wings and changed directions. Its massive body whistled through the opposite shore realm as it continued to pursue Enlin and the others. Just like that, an invisible threat was neutralized by Fanny's smile. Dominic looked at Fanny, who was smiling brightly, and also smiled. It had to be said that Fanny was very beautiful when she smiled. Enlin appraised Fanny with an appreciative look in his eyes. He also felt that this woman was impeccably beautiful. Even though Fanny was a ghost, she still had the appearance of a human. The only difference was that she was a little more dazzling and golden, which gave her a peculiar sense of beauty. Xiaozi liked this kind of thing, so it was a good match. Racial segregation was actually not a problem in the eyes of some almighty beings. Take Su Xiaolan for example. Her mother was a human almighty, but her father was a dragon. That was why she had the bloodline of the true dragon and the divine phoenix. Of course, he also had the vermilion bird bloodline now. Enlin thought that if he and Su Xiaolan had a child in the future, would the child also have a quarter of the dragon clan's bloodline? Long Bao Bao. It was exciting just thinking about it. Just as Enlin was fantasizing about the future, the Pill Sage walked over to greet him. Sect Leader Enlin, it's an honor to meet you. Dominic smiled. Enlin gulped. He had made a bet with the daughter of a Tao integration stage super mighty being and his disciple. Who knew if the Pill Sage would hold a grudge against him for this? Pill Sage, we'll be in-laws from now on. There's no need to be so polite. Just call me by my name, Enlin said tactfully. Dominic's face convulsed slightly. Xiao Zhe must have learned his shamelessness from Enlin, right? Don't try to get close to me. Who knows, my daughter might dump your disciple tomorrow. Dominic said with a dark expression. Enlin, on the other hand, was cheerful. He had an expression that said, My disciple got your Dubai's vegetables, so he can just leave after doing so. In any case, it's not a loss. Dominic was enraged upon seeing this, and he wanted to call the Divine Bat Emperor over his voice transmission talisman and ask it to come and capture him. Tell me the truth. What happened between you and the Divine Bat Emperor? Those beasts have concealed their auras, but they can't hide from my divine sense. Dominic said. Unlin was silent for a long while before replying. It wasn't that big of a deal. I just fought with one of its subordinate. Dominic chuckled coldly. Hee, the Divine Bat Emperor chased you all the way to the opposite shore realm after a fight? It just contacted me to ask me about your whereabouts. Unlin, thank you, in-laws. Unlin said gratefully. He knew that the Pill Sage had already taken care of this matter. Otherwise, the Pill Sage wouldn't have come here to mention this to him, so he was genuinely grateful. Dominic continued to chuckle coldly. You say we're in-laws, but you're hiding something like this from me? I have to be responsible for my daughter's safety, so you better be honest with me. Unlin's eyes lit up. You admit that you're in-laws? Dominic took a deep breath. Was that the point? But it looked like he really did say something wrong, damn it. Should he just kill him to silence him? In-laws, I'll be honest with you. I entered the vast land of Blood Mystic Realm, and after I came out, I got into a conflict with the Nightmare Mudman and the others, and we fought, Unlin explained. You're still calling me in-laws? Dominic repressed the urge to fly into a rage. And then? I know about the Nightmare Mudman. It's a return to void final stage mighty figure. And then we killed the Nightmare Mudman. We also accidentally killed the Flaming Falcon and the Dark Dragon 8. After that, the Divine Bat Emperor seemed to be very angry and chased after us. Unlin explained. Dominic took a deep breath. You really dared to fight them? He had killed 3 Return to Void stage mighty figures in quick succession, one of which was a Return to Void final stage mighty figure. This was a major event across the entire continent. A smile suddenly appeared on his face. But the reason the Divine Bat Emperor chased after us was probably because of that middle-aged man and gluttony, right? He turned to Dongfang Zhuangshi as he spoke. Dongfang Zhuangshi didn't evade Dominic's gaze. Instead, he looked back at him with an extremely calm expression. I'll be honest with you, in-laws. This does indeed have something to do with that middle-aged man. Hence, we urgently need to refine a few pills to escape from the opposite shore realm. Unlin heaved a forlorn sigh. Dominic nodded in response. For some reason, after hearing the term in-laws a few times, he wasn't as disgusted by it as before. Could it be that he was used to it? This Unlin sure had a lot of tricks up his sleeves. Dominic waved a hand in support of Unlin's decision to enter the pill tower to search for ingredients. However, he had one condition, and that was to convince Fanny not to follow them. They could discuss this after they returned to the 4-9 Immortal sect. Xiao Zhe didn't want Fanny to follow them, so he agreed to Dominic's condition. Soon, they had gathered all the ingredient. With the protection of the Pill Sage's in-laws, they decided to refine the pills in the pill tower. This was Dongfang Zhuangshi's exclusive recipe, a third-grade spirit pill. However, the effect of the pill was extremely astonishing, and it could conceal one's aura for an entire day. Unlin had the Divine Poison Frog do some experiments, and he discovered that after the Divine Poison Frog ran more than 15 kilometers away, not only was Dongfang Zhuangshi unable to detect its location, but even the Pill Sage was unable to detect its aura. This was amazing. Even the Pill Sage was shocked by the effects of the pill. However, what was even more surprising to Unlin and the others, the Divine Poison Frog really did disappear. That's right, the Divine Poison Frog disappeared from everyone's field of vision with the help of that terrifying pill power, and it never returned. Unlin looked into the boundless night sky and sighed with emotion as he recalled the words that the frog had once said. Following them was indeed not a good choice. The Divine Bat Emperor's target was Unlin and the others, so it could be said that the Divine Poison Frog's departure was the wisest decision. It would allow them to completely escape from the Divine Bat Emperor's pursuit. Because the Divine Bat Emperor wouldn't chase after a frog unless it was an idiot. A traveling frog has finally gone on a journey. Unlin shook his head and bade farewell to this friend he had met by chance. Chapter 851. The divine poison frog's abrupt departure left Ao Nyo feeling quite sad for a long while. Moo! Why did such a good frog leave? Ao Nyo's voice was filled with sorrow and regret. Enlin's expression darkened. Why do you make it sound like the frog just died? Tears welled up in Ao Nyo's eyes. I treated it as a friend. It's so smart, so intelligent. Why would it make such a choice? It's afraid that it'll be in mortal danger if it follows me. Enlin replied with a nonchalant expression. Ao Nyo, I'll give you a choice now. You can choose to leave us, and I won't say anything. Ao Nyo shook its head without hesitation. No, the sinister spirit beast cesspool doesn't have a place for me anymore. I'd rather stay with you guys than go somewhere else. You're so powerful, and I feel like I'll have a bright future if I follow you. Enlin faltered slightly upon hearing this before a smile appeared on his face. You sure have a good eye. Ao Nyo wasn't a very complicated person, but it had a very simple yet stubborn outlook on certain things, which was quite surprising. Everyone stayed at the Pill Tower for a day. Enlin, Su Xiaolan, Xiao Zhe, the Jade Bone Immortal Bug, Dongfang Zhuangshi, Gluttony, and Ao Nyo were all given 3 aura-concealing spirit pills that Dongfang Zhuangshi had specially made for them. Enlin and Su Xiaolan also exchanged their immortal pill coupons for immortal pills. Enlin exchanged for a heavenly soul pill, which was a 6th-grade immortal pill that could elevate one's consciousness to the pinnacle for a short period of time. The pill refinement masters of the opposite shore realm were very well versed in the subject of consciousness, and they had a vast array of spiritual-type immortal pills. Enlin had chosen this immortal pill out of so many different types as he wanted to see what it would be like if his consciousness were to be elevated to the pinnacle. Of course, this immortal pill could only be used at a critical juncture. I'm going now, Fanny. I'll contact you when I get back to the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Xiao Zhe placed an inky black dragon scale in Fanny's hand before waving goodbye. All right, I'll be waiting for your news. A vibrant smile blossomed on Fanny's face as she spun around in midair before waving a slender hand through the air, upon which countless streaks of golden light fell from the night sky like rain. This was the unique farewell ceremony of their race, and it looked very beautiful. A man and a woman passionately in love really knew how to play. Enlin and the others swallowed a concealment spirit pill before flying toward the Kingdom of the 9 States. The Kingdom of the 9 States was located in the southeastern direction of the opposite shore realm, while Pill City was located in the western direction of the opposite shore realm. Thus, it was still quite a long journey, and they had to be wary of the Divine Bat Emperor. Although the Pill Sage was a little worried about the safety of Enlin and the others, there was nothing he could do. Tao integration stage mighty figures were naturally more sensitive to one another. Thus, the Pill Sage's presence would attract the Divine Bat Emperor's attention even more. If the Divine Bat was happy and came over to greet him, he would be exposed. This wasn't to say that the Pill Sage was afraid of the Divine Bat Emperor. However, if they really did encounter it, then many things would become very troublesome. In fact, it could even cause a huge commotion in Pill City. Enlin was also quite embarrassed. He had already conquered the Pill Saint's daughter. Could it be that he had to drag the Pill Saint down with him? Thus, they decided to travel to the Kingdom of the 9 States on their own. A black dragon over 10,000 feet in length flew through the sky, sweeping up gusts of gale-force winds. Enlin and the others sat on the dragon's head and looked down at the strange and dazzling scenes that flashed before their eyes. As they approached the central region from the west, a certain type of nomological suppression began to appear. Everyone could sense a certain aura of decay. It was ancient, distant, and deathly. Layers upon layers of elements permeated the air. Enlin, Xiaoze, and the others all felt like their powers were being suppressed. Beings with exuberant vitality would have their powers suppressed. However, Dongfang Zhuangshi and Gluttony felt extremely refreshed. The closer one was to death, the more their powers would be amplified. Ahahaha! I like this smell. The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes. Su Xiaolan wanted to say something, but she hesitated. Enlin couldn't help but ask, "Uncle Dongfang, are you sure you're okay? You look like you're about to die." "I've already died a few times, so what's the big deal?" Dongfang Zhuangshi chuckled. Gluttony chimed in, "To put it more accurately, Master's current situation is not really a living being. Instead, he's hovering between life and death." Enlin was speechless. This place was a paradise for the dead. However, Fanny, who could naturally absorb the power of death, was different. Many living beings didn't have this ability, and they had to actively cultivate Yin-type cultivation methods in order to survive here. "Hey, look down there! There's so many zombies!" Su Xiaolan let loose a cry of surprise. Enlin looked down to discover that two waves of zombies with no signs of life were crashing into one another. There were hundreds of thousands of soldiers on both sides. The zombies tore at one another's bodies in an extremely frenzied battle. Some of the monsters had even had their heads eaten off, but they were still able to move, tearing their enemies' bodies to shreds with their sharp claws. It looked like the two armies were engaged in a massive battle, but there were actually only two living beings participating in the battle. These were two soul formation stage necromancers. They stood at the very back of the two armies, unleashing long-range attacks while controlling the zombies to attack. Where did they find all these corpses? Enlin furrowed his brows. He didn't like the idea of the living using the dead as weapons. The jade bone immortal butterfly flew on Enlin's shoulder and explained, "The opposite shore realm is a renowned paradise for the dead. Living beings on the brink of death will be able to live longer in the opposite shore realm due to their increased power. Due to this, the opposite shore realm has become an exceptional graveyard, attracting many living beings on the brink of death to come here." Enlin, so this was a natural graveyard? Dying beings could come here to live longer. It had to be said, this was a very attractive condition. At least, it was very attractive to those who were afraid of death. This was one of the most detestable places on the continent. At the very least, it wasn't suitable for living beings on the brink of death. They loved the opposite shore realm. Enlin and the others took a glance at the battle down below before flying back to the Kingdom of the Nine States. Xiao Zhe and the others concealed their auras, and the two necromancers on the ground didn't even detect a gargantuan figure flying over them. However, they were given a fright by the sudden burst of gale-force winds, and they thought that their opponent had unleashed a wind-type spell technique. In reality, that was only the wind that Xiao Zhe had stirred up. Thus, everyone flew peacefully for a while. After a day, they arrived at the southeastern region of the opposite shore realm, where the temperature began to drop. The holy glacial lands were located in the east, while the southeastern region was a region that extended directly into the Kingdom of the Nine States. Enlin and the others became extremely nervous as they focused their attention. They didn't even need to guess to know that the Divine Bat Emperor had definitely set up some sort of trap at the border of the opposite shore realm. Boom, 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 violent energy fluctuations erupted from the eastern region. Dongfang Zhuangshi's brows furrowed slightly. "There seems to be a battle going on over there. It's none of our business. Let's get out of here." Enlin didn't want to cause trouble. Boom. An extremely frosty blue streak of light sliced through the earth like a divine sword, slicing the earth within a radius of over 50 kilometers in half. Even a city down below was sliced in half and sealed in ice. Gasp! Enlin and the others' pupils contracted at the same time. Both sides were extremely powerful. "Quick! Let's go! Head straight south!" Enlin urged in a panicked voice. They couldn't allow anything to go wrong with their escape plan at a time like this. Xiao Zhe was also well aware of this, and he began to fly toward the south. The battle was taking place in the east, so they should be able to escape from the south, right? Boom, 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 two extremely terrifying waves of energy collided violently in the south, and heaven and earth began to cave in as the aura of the divine Tao enshrouded the heavens. Enlin, let's go west. Chapter 852. However, just as they were about to head west, a powerful spatial seal completely sealed off an area within a radius of several hundred kilometers. Rumble, boundless power of the divine Tao enshrouded heaven and earth. Countless evil ghosts appeared in the air before devouring all living beings in their path. Kukoku, Mengji, don't even think about getting away. I'm going to kill you today. A twisted, black, round body of flesh revealed a pair of bloodthirsty, crimson eyes as a series of black tentacles imbued with the power of the engulfment divine Tao pierced through space before grabbing toward a white figure at an extremely terrifying speed. The white figure flashed through the air, and the black tentacles had only just made contact with the white figure before its body shattered like a snowflake. In the next instant, the white figure appeared elsewhere. Humph, no matter how you dodge, you won't be able to escape from me. I'm going to exhaust you to death sooner or later. A triumphant smile appeared on the black body of flesh, and its power of the divine Tao surged forth before crashing toward the white figure. Xiao Zhe and the others silently made their way to the edge of the spatial seal. We really got caught in the crossfire. We didn't even want to be spectators, so how did we get caught up in the battle? Gluttony grumbled with displeasure. A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face as she looked at Enlin. Perhaps a certain someone possesses a powerful ability to attract enemies? Thankfully, they don't seem to have discovered us. It's all thanks to the powerful effects of the spirit pill. Enlin couldn't find any words to refute this. Both sides are at the return to void pinnacle stage, but I'm quite surprised that the ghost tribe possesses a spatial sealing divine tool, Dongfang Zhuangshi said with a surprised expression. Everyone's expression shifted upon hearing this. Divine tool. That was a weapon that even some Tao integration stage mighty figures didn't possess, but this return to void pinnacle stage mighty figure also had one? Divine tools were extremely powerful, and mighty figures at the return to void pinnacle stage could even battle weaker Tao integration stage super mighty figures for a short period of time. It was exactly because of this that the high priestess of the Snow Maidens, Mengji, was being suppressed by the ghost tribe. Who would have thought that there would be other pay-to-win players aside from me? Enlin said with a solemn expression. Uncle Dongfang, do you have the confidence to break this spatial seal? Su Xiaolan asked worriedly. A grave expression appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face. That's not necessarily the case. However, if I make a move, those two will definitely detect it. How about we stay here and wait for the battle to end? Enlin suggested. Dongfang Zhuangshi, are you sure you want to be such a coward? Enlin thought for a moment before replying. Plan A is to break out of the seal. That way, we'll either be able to escape successfully or be forced into battle. That way, we'll definitely be exposed. Plan B is to hide in a corner. We'll either be discovered, or we'll successfully conceal ourselves until the end of the battle. Even if we're discovered, we can still execute Plan A and try to break the seal by force. So, you know what to choose, right? Hearing this, everyone felt that it made sense, and they quietly hid themselves. Dongfang Zhuangshi unleashed another concealment spell technique to prevent them from being discovered by the ghostly beings wreaking havoc in the air. He then hid behind a huge rock and observed the battle in the distance. Boom, 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 terrifying energy blasts transformed the area within a radius of several dozen kilometers into a purgatory. Mengji wielded her golden staff and dodged the ghostly being's attacks, but she was unable to find an opportunity to retaliate. It looked like she wouldn't be able to last much longer. Outside of the spatial seal, about 1,000 kilometers to the east, the battle there was even more terrifying. It appeared to be a battle between Tao integration stage super mighty figures. The Great Empress seemed to be the only Tao integration stage super mighty figure among the Snow Maidens. So it looked like the Snow Maidens were going all out in this battle? Enlin couldn't help but recall the battle at the Vermilion Bird sect not long ago. Why are the Snow Maidens so restless? It's only been a short while, and they're already engaged in an all-out battle. Furthermore, it's an all-out battle between top-tier bosses. Do they really like to fight that much? Only they would dare to make enemies out of all of us, Unlin muttered to himself. Humph, it's best if they all die. A frosty expression appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. She was clearly quite resentful toward the Snow Maidens. Unlin stroked his chin. I heard that the Snow Maiden's home was bombed. Could that have something to do with that? Master, are you saying that the Snow Maidens are fighting because they're moving? Xiao Zhe was astonished. Unlin corrected him. No, they're invading. He really didn't have a good impression of the troublemaking Snow Maidens. There were many beautiful big sisters, but he really didn't like them. I wonder if Sister Shangguan is here. It'd be great if we could take her back, Su Xiaolan suddenly said. Unlin looked around the battlefield to find that there were only two places with the most violent energy fluctuations. One was here, and the other was where the Great Empress was. There was also a place that was barely discernible, but it was probably too far away for him to detect. Ha ha, how about you give in to me, little beauty? I'll treat you well, and we can have spiritual intercourse that you've never experienced before. The ghost tribe mighty figure chortled with glee. Gasp! Unlin drew a sharp intake of breath. What is this spiritual intercourse that it's talking about? I feel like I'm getting the wrong idea. A blush appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. Dongfang Zhuangshi shook his head. You're not getting the wrong idea. It's the kind of spiritual intercourse that you're imagining. The ghost tribe has a type of soul copulation technique that's very stimulating, but also very dangerous. If you go too far, both of your souls will be severely wounded. Su Xiaolan. Unlin's eyes widened. You've tried it before, uncle? Dongfang Zhuangshi chuckled. I have. It's really exhilarating. Do you want to come? I can teach this technique to you and Xiaolan. Unlin, Su Xiaolan. I refuse. Unlin was a little disappointed upon hearing this. I also refuse. This is a deviant technique, and a good man like me can't be bothered to come into contact with it. Meng Ji's white robe fluttered in the wind, and she wore a cold expression on her face. She didn't insult or provoke the ghost tribe mighty figure in the slightest as she continued to evade its attacks. One side was engaged in an earth-shattering battle. The other side was having a lively conversation while eating melons. Dongfang Zhuangshi seemed to be very interested in this topic. It's okay if you don't like it. You guys know that my name is Blood Kirin, and I know an even more stimulating method of copulation. What method of copulation? Unlin's eyes widened with curiosity. Blood copulation. Do you want to know more about it? Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyes glowed with excitement. Unlin, Su Xiaolan. I feel like you should consider the feelings of a girl when discussing this topic. The Jade Bone Immortal Butterfly. I second that. Chapter 853. The two female listeners objected vehemently, and Dongfang Zhuangshi could only change the subject. Divine technique, eternal death god. The ghost tribe mighty figure roared with rage as a dark light burst forth from the black bone divine tool in its hand. Heaven and earth began to tremor as the power of the divine Tao materialized into a black skeleton over 10,000 feet tall and wielding a crimson scythe. The skeleton's robe was constructed from inky black ghostly material, and it chanted the demonic voice of hell as it slashed its blade toward the flashing white figure in the distance. Crack! Heaven and earth seemed to have been sliced in half as a series of cracks appeared. Meng Ji's body had also been severed at the waist, and her body had been dislocated. Bam! Her body exploded into a shower of white snowflakes. Her body then materialized somewhere in the air again. Meng Ji's expression was still as cold as ever, but blue blood was flowing from the corners of her lips. Kukuku, stop struggling. The eternal death god can lock onto your consciousness and attack it. No matter how you try to evade or resist, it will be able to strike your consciousness every time it strikes. The ghost tribe mighty figure chuckled with elation as the divine tool in its hand flashed again. The black skeleton's scythe fell again. Meng-Ji gritted her teeth, and her body transformed into a streak of white light as she charged toward the ghost tribe mighty figure. She was clearly planning to fight to the death. Let's get ready to sneak out of here. We'll run as soon as the seal is lifted. Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyes narrowed slightly. A blue divine light burst forth from Meng-Ji's golden staff, which combined with her fearless body to form a sharp blade that could slice through heaven and earth before stabbing toward the ghost tribe mighty figure behind the black skeleton. The black skeleton's scythe fell, slicing through Meng-Ji's power of the divine Tao as well as her body at the same time. Bam! A familiar scene ensued as Meng-Ji's body exploded again. In the next instant, Meng-Ji's body appeared before the black skeleton, and she threw up another mouthful of blood. She had clearly been severely wounded, but her pure golden eyes had become extremely sharp. She continued to charge forward with an unstoppable force, and the blue divine Tao blade pierced through the black skeleton's body before heading directly toward the ghost tribe mighty figure. A panicked expression appeared on the ghost tribe mighty figure's face as it blasted forth a wave of white deathly energy, which materialized into a thick wall before it. Rumble! The blue divine Tao blade struck the white wall of deathly energy, upon which an extremely terrifying shockwave erupted. The power of extreme frost instantly froze the space within a radius of several dozen kilometers. Enlin and the others, who were at the edge of the spatial seal, felt a bone-piercing chill. At the center of the collision, the low temperature even froze the death chi shield. Break! A clear and indifferent voice rang out. The shield of death energy exploded, and the blue blade pierced through the body of the ghost race's supreme being. Enlin's eyes widened. Meng-Ji was able to kill a divine tool-wielding mighty figure? Dongfang Zhuangshi shook his head. No, it's Meng-Ji who's about to die. Sure enough, although the Ghost Clan's supreme being was trembling, a sinister smile appeared on his face. The power of the extreme frost divine Tao spread more and more slowly around the ghost tribe mighty figure's wound before finally coming to a standstill. Is that all? The ghost tribe mighty figure's eyes flashed as he breathed, and his black, decaying hands grabbed onto the blue divine Tao blade projection before squeezing viciously. Bang! The peerlessly sharp power was crushed by the ghost tribe mighty figure's bare hands, and Meng-Ji hurtled back in retreat as blood gushed from her mouth. At the same time, the black skeleton's scythe fell again. The crimson scythe sliced through heaven and earth with a dazzling red light, as if it existed in this world, but also as if it had transcended to another dimension. Crack! Meng-Ji's body was sliced in half again. Bam! Her body exploded again. And Lin stared at the scenes unfolding before his eyes with a speechless expression. Is there an end to this? How many lives does she have? Dongfang Zhuangshi wore a knowledgeable expression. This is the Snow Maiden's Lotus Snow transformation technique, which allows her to transfer the damage she has sustained to the Lotus Snow while she chooses to escape. As long as one has enough power, they can evade this spell technique countless times without sustaining any injuries. It's a pity that the death god summoned by the ghost tribe's divine tool possesses a portion of the power of laws. As long as it unleashes its scythe, it will be able to destroy its enemy's consciousness. The high priestess is unable to completely transfer the death god's power, so she can take 3 more hits at most. 3 hits? Everyone finally perked up upon hearing this as they stared nervously at Meng-Ji in the distance. In any case, the fall of a mighty figure at the Return to Void pinnacle stage was still quite a sight to behold. Enlin and the others paid their respects to him. There was nothing wrong with reminiscing about him. Meng-Ji continued to retreat as her golden staff hovered in front of her. Her hands transformed into a series of afterimages as she made a series of hand seals. Blue divine Tao veined patterns appeared beneath her feet like a formation. Boom! A terrifying frosty aura soared into the heavens and shook the heavens. Meng-Ji's aura continued to climb explosively, and she managed to transcend beyond the Return to Void stage in a short time. Ice divine burial. An ethereal voice sounded from her mouth as the projection of a blue goddess appeared in the air. A blue and white ball of divine Tao energy converged in her hand. Meng Ji knew that she had no way out, so she was going to unleash a powerful attack. Ha ha! You're already at the end of your tether, so there's no point in struggling. The Ghost Tribe Monarch's body expanded to several times its original size as it unleashed a mystic technique to elevate its power explosively. Divine technique, Gaze of the Death God. It raised its black bone-like divine tool high into the air. Boundless black divine Tao light erupted from the bone before enshrouding heaven and earth. The black skeleton projection expanded explosively once again as its body took on a substantial form. Its crimson eyes were like crimson vortexes that sucked in all things between heaven and earth. My Gaze of the Death God technique can engulf all spell technique. It will automatically look toward the enemy with the most powerful consciousness and drag their consciousness into a boundless abyss. You won't be able to escape. Let me use this attack to completely end your life. The Ghost Tribe Monarch cackled as it pointed its divine tool at Meng Ji and unleashed its final attack. Meng Ji also pointed her golden staff toward the Ghost Tribe Monarch. Go, freeze the Ghost Tribe mighty figure's life force. The ice god she had summoned waved a sleeve, and the blue and white ball of divine Tao energy in its hand shot forth like a bolt of lightning toward the Ghost Tribe mighty figure. Gaze of the Death God engulf. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure was brimming with confidence as the divine tool in its hand unleashed an unfathomable power again. The black skeleton projection suddenly tilted its head toward a certain direction as the crimson vortexes in its eyes quickly rotated. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure. Meng Ji. Boom. Just as the Ghost Tribe mighty figure was completely dumbstruck, the black skeleton projection unleashed a powerful technique toward the air. With it as the epicenter, everything within a radius of over 50 kilometers was engulfed, regardless of whether it was plants or mountains. All of the living beings' consciousnesses were instantly torn apart. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure's eyes widened with incredulity. The Gaze of the Death God technique would only be used against the enemy with the most powerful consciousness aside from itself. Why was the Death God staring at the air? That was impossible. Right at that instant the truth was revealed. A middle-aged man struggled with all his might, but his body was drawn toward the Death God's eyes relentlessly. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure. No! It roared with despair. Boom! Meng Ji's attack exploded in front of the Ghost Tribe mighty figure. The terrifying power of the Ice Divine Tao froze the Death God and engulfed the Ghost Tribe mighty figure's body. Chapter 854. Boom! Blue frosty energy exploded, transforming heaven and earth into a frigid hell. Everything was engulfed by Meng Ji's power of the Divine Tao. Anlin and the others hid behind the chaotic alloy brick in order to withstand the shockwaves from the explosion. All of them fell into a peculiar silence as they looked on at the explosion in the distance. Are we being forced into a group battle? Anlin finally couldn't help but ask. I heard that the Gaze of the Death God is targeted at the person with the most powerful consciousness? Senior Dongfang sure is impressive to be able to stand out among so many mighty figures. The Jade Bone Immortal Butterfly exclaimed. Anlin's expression darkened. Is that the point? What's there to be happy about? Don't forget what we're supposed to do. What? Isn't that the point? Are you looking down on my master? Gluttony bared its teeth. Anlin, was Gluttony's brain really functioning normally? Su Xiaolan. Let's observe a moment of silence for Uncle Dongfang. Aonyo also heaved a forlorn sigh. Moo, I had thought that Plan B wouldn't work, so we still had Plan A to go with it. Who would have thought that the most powerful being would be dragged into the battlefield, and Plan A would also be ruined? Anlin massaged his brows. Uncle Dongfang probably helped Meng Ji a little. First, he withstood the gaze of the Death God with his body, then he was struck by Meng Ji's most powerful technique. Will he be all right? Gluttony bared its teeth again. What? Are you looking down on my master? Unlin's chest constricted, and he glared at Gluttony with rage. I'm worried about your master. Do you understand? Gluttony pursed its lips. You're worried about a wolf being bullied by a pair of sheep? Isn't that looking down on him? Unlin was speechless. Su Xiaolan chuckled. If your master is Big Wolf and those two sheep are Pleasant Goat and Pretty Goat, then you really do need to be worried about him. Gluttony. Unlin gave her a thumbs up. Brilliant. Well said, Xiaolan. Gluttony was still completely dumbstruck. Just as they continued to act as onlookers and talk trash, Meng Zhi's glacial energy slowly dissipated, and everything within a radius of 50 kilometers was transformed into a world of ice and snow. Unlin and the others stopped chatting and silently looked towards the center of the battle. This was a battle between mighty figures at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage, so it wasn't appropriate for them to intervene. As such, they could only watch from the sidelines. If they weren't strong enough, they wouldn't be a burden. They still had this bit of pretentiousness. Theoretically speaking, Dongfang Zhuangshi was quite far away from the Death God's gaze and Ice God Heaven's burial, so the damage he received should have been significantly reduced. Meanwhile, the Ghost Tribe mighty figure had been struck by the Ice God Heaven's burial, so the damage it had sustained was completely different. Cough, cough, Meng Zhi slowly descended to the ground, and she couldn't help but throw up another mouthful of blood. The injuries she had just sustained, as well as the aftereffects of overexerting her secret technique, were beginning to manifest. 1,000 meters away from her, a sinister-looking black body was frozen into a block of ice. This was the body of the Ghost Tribe mighty figure. It was quite clear that its ultimate technique had been completely nullified, and Meng Zhi was the final victor. Meng Zhi no longer looked at the Ghost Tribe mighty figure. Instead, she turned her attention toward the direction of her savior. A huge block of ice exploded with a resounding boom. Dongfang Zhuangshi walked out from the block of ice in a rather disheveled manner. He glanced at the frozen Ghost Tribe mighty figure, then at Meng Zhi, who was breathing heavily, and a polite yet awkward smile appeared on his face. You guys can continue, I'm just a passerby. He waved a hand and was about to leave. Meng Zhi opened her mouth, but she didn't say anything. She suddenly felt like it wasn't a bad idea to let him leave. A series of coincidental events had made her who she was now. Seeing as that man didn't care and didn't want to get involved in this battle, then she could just chalk it up to fate. Dongfang Zhuangshi took a couple of steps before his footsteps suddenly faltered, and he turned to look at the black bone in the Ghost Tribe mighty figure's hand. That was a divine tool. In any case, stealing the divine tool didn't seem like a bad idea, did it? However, before he had a chance to do anything, the block of ice began to tremor and crack before exploding with a resounding boom. Boom! The Ghost Tribe mighty figure roared as it broke through the ice, and the power of the dark divine Tao exploded outward, reducing everything it came into contact with to dust. Dongfang Zhuangshi narrowed his eyes. Looks like things aren't going to be easy to resolve. The Ghost Tribe is very adept at exploiting the laws of heaven and earth here. The closer a being is to death, the more powerful their power will be. Due to this, they can cultivate unique cultivation methods to maximize their power. For example, the severely wounded Ghost Tribe mighty figure is even more powerful than before. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure glared at Dongfang Zhuangshi with a resentful expression. You're the one who nullified my gaze of the Death God. Who the hell are you? Dongfang Zhuangshi put on a harmless expression. I was just passing by and accidentally stumbled upon your battle. Let me go, and I promise I won't interfere in your battle. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure's expression shifted slightly. This middle-aged man appeared to be quite powerful, and it didn't want to make too many enemies if possible. Alright then you. It was just about to say something when a familiar feeling suddenly welled up in its heart. Wait, this aura. The ghost tribe mighty figure looked at Dongfang Zhuangshi with surprise in its eyes. You're the person the Divine Bat Emperor is looking for. Its eyes widened with astonishment. Dongfang Zhuangshi. Never would the ghost tribe mighty figure have thought that its most powerful attack would strike the mighty figure the Divine Bat Emperor was looking for. It immediately pulled out its voice transmission talisman. Right at this moment, Dongfang Zhuangshi's crimson eyes flashed, and the space around him suddenly twisted. Bam! The voice transmission talisman in the ghost tribe mighty figure's hand suddenly exploded. Dongfang Zhuangshi massaged his brows with a vexed expression. I knew it. The Divine Bat Emperor would definitely seek help from a mighty figure from the opposite shore realm. My identity has been exposed again, sigh. Demonic blood Kirin, it really is you. The ghost tribe mighty figure pulled out a plate-like communication talisman before enshrouding its entire body with the power of the divine Tao to form a protective barrier. Dongfang Zhuangshi's crimson eyes flashed again, and the twisted space tore apart even the protective barrier before tearing apart the plate-like talisman. Bam! The ghost tribe mighty figure's plate exploded. Sigh, why can't you recognize the difference between us? Congratulations, you've made yourself another powerful enemy. Dongfang Zhuangshi shook his head in resignation. The ghost tribe mighty figure. Dongfang Zhuangshi turned to Mengji with a warm smile. Beautiful cultivator, would you be willing to fight alongside me to kill the ghost tribe mighty figure? Mengji nodded with an exquisitely beautiful smile on her face. I'd love to. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Thus, Dongfang Zhuangshi and Mengji formed a united front and became comrades in arms. Chapter 855. The ghost tribe mighty figure felt like fate was playing a prank on it. This was clearly a situation where it had the upper hand, so how did it end up in a dire situation? He couldn't accept this. He was so close to killing that snow maiden. The consciousness of a cultivator at the return to void pinnacle stage must be delicious. How could it miss out on such an opportunity? The ghost tribe mighty figure turned to look at the middle-aged man in the distance. Even though the middle-aged man's spell technique was quite peculiar and difficult to defend against, it didn't actually deal much damage. Furthermore, from the middle-aged man's aura, it appeared to be quite unstable, and it wasn't very powerful either. To put it in simpler terms, it could win. If you want to die, then I'll help the Divine Bat tribe get rid of you. The ghost tribe mighty figure let loose a strange cry as it tossed the bone into the air, upon which black energy surged forth. Oh? You didn't choose to run away? Dongfang Zhuangshi turned to the ghost tribe mighty figure with a hint of surprise on his face. Over 50 kilometers away, Anlin and Su Xiaolan were silently observing the battle through spell technique. Sigh, how did things turn out like this? Anlin heaved a forlorn sigh. How could Uncle team up with the Snow Maidens? None of the Snow Maidens are good people. Su Xiaolan was still very upset that Mengji had been saved. Except for Sister Shangguan. Anlin blinked. Xiaolan, do you hate the Snow Maidens that much? The Snow Maidens invaded the Vermilion Bird sect and almost killed you. I want nothing more than to capture all of them. Speaking of which, how can you be so calm? You're making me even angrier than you are. Su Xiaolan glowered at Anlin. Anlin was speechless, but for some reason, he was feeling quite elated. Whoosh! The sound of something tearing through the air erupted. Mengji had sprung into action. She wasn't going to give the ghost tribe mighty figure any time to prepare its spell technique. A dazzling divine light erupted from the golden staff, which transformed into a series of sharp blades that pierced through the air before piercing through the ghost tribe mighty figure's defensive barrier. The ghost tribe mighty figure unleashed a mystic technique in conjunction with the laws of heaven and earth, and its power began to increase explosively. Mengji's attacks were unable to penetrate its defenses. Come on out. With the bone as the heart and the blood as the body, I summon the true death god. It abruptly sliced open its own body, and inky black blood gushed into the sky before fusing together with the bone. The blood adhered to the bones and squirmed, and an extremely terrifying aura began to brew. Blood energy erupted from Dongfang Zhuangshi's body upon seeing this, and the surrounding area within a radius of 5 kilometers transformed into a surging sea of blood that crashed toward the ghost tribe mighty figure. "You want to create a fake life in front of me?" The corners of his lips curled up as he stomped on the sea of blood. An extremely complicated red formation appeared. The center of the spell formation was right beneath the feet of the ghost tribe mighty figure. At the same time, the red clouds in the sky surged, faintly resonating with the formation on the ground. Dongfang Zhuangshi made a series of hand seals, and his aura soared into the heavens. Return to the dead, heaven and earth massacre. Rumble. The formation on the ground revolved crazily, dark red energy enveloping the world. The ghost mighty figure raised its head to discover an unimaginably gargantuan crimson Kirin staring down at it. The terrifying, vast aura made it difficult for it to breathe. The crimson Kirin extended its sharp claws, which were brimming with killing intent, and tore through the ghost tribe mighty figure's divine Dao defenses amid a sharp screech before plunging its claws into the writhing pool of blood that contained the god of death. No! The ghost tribe mighty figure frantically tried to defend itself. It was also at this moment that a bright blue blade pierced through space and punctured its body. When the ghost tribe mighty figure decided to allocate more of its power to the god of death, it was unable to defend itself against Mengji's attack. Mengji's white hair danced in the wind as she abruptly twisted her wrist, upon which an unparalleled frosty power erupted from her blade before eroding the ghost tribe mighty figure's body in a frenzy. The crimson Kirin was like a primordial beast with the sun and moon above its head and stars beneath its feet. Its sharp claws plunged into the god of death's writhing pool of blood, upon which terrifying power poured forth. Depravity, death, and killing intent descended into the abyss. Rip! The crimson Kirin tore through the black pool of blood and quickly stripped away the life force within it. The ghost tribe mighty figure let loose an enraged roar as the pool of blood transformed into lifeless liquid that fell to the ground, creating a rain of blood. How could this be? My divine ability was broken again? The ghost tribe mighty figure stared at the black bone hovering in the sky with incredulity on its face. The Kirin was still trying to extend its claws toward the black bone. However, the black divine light emanating from the bone materialized into a skeletal hand, which swatted the Kirin aside. Oh? The divine tool's consciousness seems to be even more powerful than that ghost tribe bastard's. Dongfang Zhuangshi exclaimed in surprise. The ghost tribe mighty figure. Did he have to be so heart-wrenching? Was this middle-aged man sent by the heavens to attack it? A crisp sound erupted as a blue blade of ice tore through the air, slicing the ghost tribe mighty figure's body in half. A boundless blade projection swept forth, slicing through the earth for over 50 kilometers. The Kirin disappeared into thin air. The spell technique unleashed by Dongfang Zhuangshi also dissipated, and a hint of paleness appeared on his face. Using too much power was a bit too much for him in his current state of consciousness. After returning, he had to hug Lin again in order to recover the energy he had expended. He looked up at the divine tool in the sky, contemplating how to capture it. Right at this moment, a sobbing voice suddenly sounded. Why are you forcing me? Why are you forcing me to take you down with me?" This was the ghost tribe mighty figure's voice. Dongfang Zhuangshi and Mengji's expressions shifted at the same time as they turned to look at the body that had been sliced in half. The eyes of the black ball of flesh that had been sliced in half and sealed in ice by Mengji began to glow with a sinister red light. Finally, cracks began to appear on its face. Countless crimson fists imbued with the power of destruction fell from the sky toward the block of ice. Boom, boom, boom. The area within a radius of over a kilometer was reduced into a bottomless crater. Dongfang Zhuangshi had landed the killing blow. "You think you can kill me just like that?" A sinister voice swept forth from within the crater. Black energy emanated from the bottom of the crater, forming a sinister ghost over 10,000 feet tall. The terrifying power of the divine Tao erupted forth at an insane rate. The ghost-tribe mighty figure flew into the air and gripped onto the divine tool with a crazed expression. "Come on, let's take each other down with us." The inky black ghost over 10,000 feet tall suddenly unleashed energy fluctuations that made even Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji's hearts tremble as it roared and pounced toward them. Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji's expressions shifted drastically. Was it finally going to fight with its life on the line? All mighty figures at the Return to Void pinnacle stage were extremely fearsome when fighting with their lives on the line. They unleashed powerful spell techniques to keep the ghost at bay without any hesitation. However, when the spell techniques struck the ghost's body, it exploded like a balloon. The entire area within a radius of over 50 kilometers was transformed into a vast expanse of murky black mist. Not only could it obstruct vision, but it could also prevent divine sense detection. Meng Ji faltered slightly upon seeing this. However, Dongfang Zhuangshi immediately came to a realization. Crap. It's trying to escape. That's right, mighty figures at the Return to Void pinnacle stage all cherish their lives very much. Why would they try to take each other down with them? A black shadow leaped out from the murky black mist and fled into the distance. "Kukoku, I've already marked your bodies. You're all going to die when I get out of here. Ghost Emperor Pajun and the Divine Bat Emperor are nearby. I'll contact them, and when the two Tao integration stage super mighty figures attack you at the same time, how are you going to survive?" The ghost tribe mighty figure chortled with glee as it withdrew its spatial seal. However, right at this moment, it suddenly caught sight of what appeared to be a dragon up ahead. Boom! Inky black lightning flashed and arrived in an instant. Chapter 856. The ghost tribe mighty figure was unable to evade the sudden bolt of black lightning, and it only managed to raise its arms in front of its body before the bolt of lightning fell. Boom, boom, boom. The ghost tribe mighty figure was blasted back by the terrifying power of the lightning, which continued to wreak havoc on its body. There's another enemy? A black dragon at the pinnacle of the Return to Void intermediate stage? It swept its divine sense through the air, upon which its expression shifted. How could this be? How could a black dragon of this cultivation base unleash such terrifying lightning techniques? Just as it was speaking, Xiao Zhe unleashed over 100 bolts of lightning toward the ghost tribe mighty figure. These bolts of lightning were originally quite powerful, but they weren't powerful enough to strike fear into the ghost tribe mighty figure's heart. However, they suddenly became extremely terrifying as they pierced through space. Damn it! The ghost tribe mighty figure had no choice but to use its power to evade the bolts of lightning. The ghost tribe was most fearful of Yang-type spell techniques, and lightning was imbued with Yang-type power, so it was not an exaggeration to say that it was the bane of Yang-type spell technique. Just as it was evading the black dragon's attacks, Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji had already charged toward the ghost tribe mighty figure and unleashed spatial sealing techniques at the same time. Meng Ji's expression was no longer as cold and indifferent as before, as a hint of astonishment and surprise appeared on her face at the sight of the man standing on the dragon's head. How could it be him? Why did they encounter him here? Unlin. Meng Ji was getting a little nervous for some reason. She felt like she couldn't forget that man. The reason why she had failed with the holy vermilion flame was because she had deduced many things, and all of her deductions pointed toward Enlin. The palace leaders of the holy palaces had most likely perished by Enlin's hands as well. It wasn't some other mighty figure who had interfered, it was Enlin who had killed them. One had to realize that Qing Li was a Return to Void final stage mighty figure. To be able to kill her without even giving her a chance to escape, just how powerful was the person who did it? At this moment, Enlin was standing on the head of a powerful dragon tribe mighty figure, facing off against a mighty figure at the Return to Void pinnacle stage without any fear. This further confirmed her suspicions. Enlin was pretending to be weak. Long time no see, High Priest. Enlin also extended a slight greeting with a faint smile. Not long ago, he had been a newbie who had almost been killed by Meng Ji with a single attack. But now, he had the confidence to face the High Priestess head-on. Meng Ji glanced at the calm and collected man, and she was even more certain that Enlin was pretending to be a pig to prey on a tiger. Otherwise, how could a soul formation late-stage cultivator have the guts to stand in front of her and speak like this? The ghost tribe mighty figure immediately unleashed countless sinister ghosts upon seeing this, all of which converged toward Enlin's group and Meng Ji. Everyone's expression changed, and they immediately unleashed spells to attack the evil spirits. Don't let it get away. We have to reinforce the spatial seal. Dongfang Zhuangshi yelled. Meng Ji gritted her teeth and unleashed her power of the extreme frost divine Tao, which enshrouded the space within a radius of several dozen kilometers. All living beings that approached the barrier would be slowed down and frozen, and some would even be frozen to death. Dongfang Zhuangshi also completely unleashed his surging blood power to seal the space within a crimson cage. Just when the two of them thought that the ghost tribe mighty figure was trying to escape, a terrifying streak of black light pierced through the air toward Enlin and the others. Crap! Dongfang Zhuangshi immediately came to his senses and charged toward the black light. The ghost tribe mighty figure was not trying to break out of the encirclement. Instead, it was trying to capture Enlin and the others as hostages. This was indeed the best course of action. After all, if they failed to break out of the encirclement, they would most likely be killed by him and Meng Ji. However, if they could capture Enlin and the others, they would be able to keep them at bay. Kukoku. A return to Void Intermediate Stage Dragon Tribe Cultivator and a few Soul Formation Stage Brats dare to stand in my way? Die. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure cackled as it flew through the air at an extremely fast speed, giving Enlin and the others almost no time to react. However, all of a sudden, its stomach swelled up. Bam! It didn't have a butt, but its back suddenly exploded like a waterfall. Ah! The Ghost Tribe mighty figure felt like something was about to erupt, and at the same time, boundless grief welled up in its heart. Wah! What did you do to me? What? The dark sorcery party ghost began to wail and howl with anguish. Two extremely terrifying bolts of lightning answered its call. The bolts of lightning struck its body and blasted it flying again. Meng Ji's expression shifted again. As expected, this Enlin was extremely peculiar and not an ordinary cultivator. Enlin was extremely disappointed. He had planned to give Meng Ji a taste of his make-you-poop and make-you-cry spell technique. After all, a goddess-like mighty figure bursting into tears on the spot was extremely thrilling, and he really wanted to give it a try. What? Go! Capture them! The Ghost Tribe mighty figure waved its hands through the air, and countless ghosts pounced toward Enlin and the others. The pitch-black, powerful evil spirits were densely packed and covered the entire sky, turning the heaven and earth into a terrifying ghost domain. Like a tidal wave, they swept towards the crowd from all directions. This kind of power is enough to capture return to Void Intermediate Stage mighty figures. A black light burst forth from the divine tool in the Ghost Tribe mighty figure's hands, and the power of the ghosts became even more terrifying. Its body seemed to have materialized, and its sharp claws sliced through the air, causing the space around it to wail and wail. Howl! Terrifying lightning erupted from Xiao Zhe's body before crashing toward the ghosts, each bolt of which was able to kill several ghosts on the spot. However, there was no end to the ghosts, and they were still advancing toward Enlin and the others. The Jade Bone Immortal Butterfly, the Peerless Saber Demon, and Gluttony also joined the defense. The Immortal Butterfly's poisonous mist burst forth to melt the ghosts around them. The Peerless Saber Demon unleashed a relentless single strike of the ocean and second strike of the ocean. Gluttony opened its cavernous mouth and swallowed several hundred ghosts before its eyes rolled over into the back of its head, and it almost died from overeating on Xiao Zhe's back. The ghost tribe mighty figure blocked Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji with all its might. Almost there, just a little bit more. Right at this moment, Enlin and Su Xiaolan held hands. Heaven and earth instantly fell silent. Boom! A terrifying explosion instantly engulfed all the ghosts between heaven and earth. A crimson sun appeared between heaven and earth. Crimson phoenix flames imbued with the power of annihilation and slaughter proliferated outward, and all the inky black ghosts were reduced to ashes by the terrifying power of the flames. The ghost tribe mighty figure's pupils contracted, and its mouth gaped open. 2 soul formation stage cultivators holding hands could cause an explosion. The crimson explosion incinerated all the ghosts it had summoned into nothingness, and even its body was forced into retreat by the shock waves of the explosion. It was also at this moment that a silver figure broke through the flames. It spread open its hands, and a purple halo of light suddenly proliferated outward, enshrouding the ghost tribe mighty figure's body as an extremely powerful gravitational force crushed down upon it. You think you can restrain me with just this? You're delusional. The ghost tribe mighty figure roared as it tried to struggle free. Blue snowflakes danced between heaven and earth at this moment, and the power of the extreme frost divine Tao descended upon the ghost tribe mighty figure, causing its body to falter slightly. Meng Ji finally sprang into action again. Boom! Another silver Gundam flashed toward the ghost tribe mighty figure. The ghost tribe mighty figure had no time to evade, and at this moment, a pink particle sword slashed down. Whoosh! The particle sword was peerlessly sharp, and it sliced the ghost tribe mighty figure's body in half. It was so powerful that even the space behind it was sliced in half. The ghost tribe mighty figure howled with anguish. Never would it have thought that it would be retaliated against by a group of people like this. In the next instant, Enlin appeared before it with a faint smile on his face. The ghost tribe mighty figure's eyes widened. A soul formation stage cultivator dared to close in on it? Was he insane? Chapter 857. The evil dragon's target this time was still Enlin. Ah! The ghost tribe mighty figure roared relentlessly with a crazed expression. The ghost tribe mighty figure's eyes widened in shock. The ghost tribe mighty figure issued a command, and the terrifying blue evil dragon in the sky roared before pouncing toward Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji with devastating power. A faint smile appeared on his face as he looked at the ghost tribe mighty figure, which had already been surrounded. Frost and ice enshrouded the ghost tribe mighty figure again before freezing the space around it. It was also at this moment that the yellow ring on its finger began to tremor again, as if it had been stimulated by something. A pair of gargantuan golden eyes opened within the chaos again. Get back here! The ghost tribe mighty figure roared as it unleashed more tentacles toward Enlin. Go and kill them! This is a summoned dragon. As a vengeful mighty figure, it was naturally going to kill the easiest enemy to kill first in order to intimidate the others. This was the 1000 possibility box, which could unleash all kinds of spell techniques at random. They chose to evade without any hesitation. It immediately realized that it had been tricked by that strange spell technique. Boom! Ha ha ha! The ghost tribe mighty figure's life force was extremely feeble, but it chortled with glee. You didn't expect this, did you? This divine tool of mine is called the chaotic evil dragon bone, and it is constructed from the heart bone of a chaotic evil dragon. It is imbued with the terrifying power of an evil dragon. Splat! It panted heavily as inky black blood flowed from its body. Its massive body was riddled with wounds, and even though the wounds were quickly healing, its life force was still being drained away. The blue evil dragon's body was like a surging ocean as it roared at Enlin. A crimson saber fell from the sky and sliced through all of the tentacles. The evil dragon was extremely fast, and just its movement alone caused the space around it to compress and twist. In Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji's eyes, it was as if the evil dragon had brought with it an entire ocean of boundless power that was completely unstoppable. Die! A sinister smile suddenly appeared on its face as its inky black body squirmed, and one of its tentacles shot forth toward Enlin at an extremely terrifying speed. Enlin was stunned. Damn it! Why is it her again? What's the use of another slap of love? Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji combined their powers again, and the ghost tribe mighty figure was in a perilous situation. It no longer had a chance to attack Enlin. Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji's expressions instantly became extremely grave. The ghost tribe mighty figure's body squirmed violently, clearly having a mental breakdown. Meng Ji. Is that the point? This dragon's strength is not simple. Even if the two of us work together, we might not be its match. In the distance, Enlin's fingertips emitted clouds of black gas as he smiled faintly. In that instant, the ghost mighty figure felt as if it had lost something. So what if I don't have the power to communicate with the undead? I can even nourish spirits with my body. Let us walk towards eternal death together. Even though the ghost tribe mighty figure had been severely wounded several times and was on the brink of death, its power had become even more fearsome. Two mighty figures at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage besieging a single mighty figure at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage might not be a guaranteed victory. On the contrary, the one being besieged might even take one of them down with him. Dongfang Zhuangshi, Meng Ji. Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji were not going to let go of such a good opportunity, and they immediately unleashed all types of terrifying spell techniques in pursuit. The black box in Enlin's hand was also activated at this moment. Enlin felt a terrifying shock wave erupt, upon which the circular blue barrier was blasted into the distance as if it had been blasted by a bomb. Roar. Boom. Little B** starred, "You're the one behind my power, right? I'm going to kill you now." The voice was imbued with a paramount dragon might, as if it were the voice of an ancient supreme being. It exploded? Why did it explode? No. Meng Ji shot a discreet glance at Enlin, who was spectating from afar. Bam! It looked like the 1000 possibility box was quite adaptable. It knew that Enlin was going to escape, so it had prepared something like this. Ha ha! It's too late. Howl! A blue heavenly dragon leaped out of the inky light, twisting its ocean-like body as it circled in the sky. I'm going to take you down with me. Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji were not going to give it any face, and they attacked it with even greater ferocity. Why don't you take me down with you? A series of earth-shattering spell techniques erupted, and the ghost tribe mighty figure was forced into retreat. Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyes widened, and his body shuddered with shock. Shouldn't the trump card of the ghost tribe be summoning some evil ghost mighty figure? What's the point of summoning a dragon? She positioned herself in front of Enlin, and she suddenly put her hands together before quickly separating them, upon which a circular blue barrier instantly enshrouded the two of them. Gundam 3 and Yao Ji also joined the battle. Even though they were still quite a ways off from mighty figures at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage, they had no issues coordinating their attacks with Meng Ji and Dongfang Zhuangshi. Enlin heaved a long sigh of relief as he looked at the box in his hand. Why did it explode? Idiot, that's because I have the power to communicate with dead spirits. Brilliant light erupted, and a holy and beautiful celestial maiden in a white dress appeared again. Her power was boundless, and even the sound of her breathing was able to sweep up waves of vital energy within a radius of over 50 kilometers. However, to his surprise, the celestial maiden in a white dress didn't raise her hand to slap him. The ghost tribe mighty figure cackled with a sinister smile as it stabbed the divine tool bone into its own body. The ghost tribe mighty figure's tentacles exploded again, and its inky black ball-like body squirmed as it materialized a pair of hands again. One of its hands unleashed a divine Dao shield to defend itself, while the other gripped the divine tool bone tightly in its hand. A sinister smile appeared on the ghost tribe mighty figure's face as it cackled cruelly. This was evident from the fact that it had summoned the eternal death with its divine tool. The energy fluctuations emanating from this eternal death were on a completely different level compared to the ones it had summoned before. Enlin had robbed it of its most important power when it unleashed the divine plunder technique. The ghost tribe mighty figure was no longer able to use any undead summoning spell techniques now. The black tentacles had only just come into contact with the circular blue barrier when it felt as if a bomb had been detonated. Phew! All of you must die. A sinister expression appeared on the ghost tribe mighty figure's face as the divine tool in its hand glowed with a scintillating light, and the power of the dark divine Tao surged forth. Come forth, eternal death. It can command all evil and filthy powers. However, its most terrifying usage is to use its life essence as a raw material and its chaotic evil dragon bone as the core to summon the projection of a chaotic evil dragon. The celestial maiden in the distance disappeared, and the blue barrier began to shatter. Divine plunder technique activated. Another resounding boom erupted, and the powerful eternal death suddenly let loose a wail of anguish before exploding. However, the evil dragon's momentum did not falter in the slightest, and it had no intention of pursuing them. Why don't I even have the power to communicate with dead spirits? A horrified expression appeared on the ghost tribe mighty figure's face. Boom! Enlin was struck by an extremely potent sense of impending death for the first time, and his entire body trembled uncontrollably. Dongfang Zhuangshi's Kirin Blood Claw attack and Meng Ji's Extreme Frost Seal were both broken in quick succession. It was quite clear that the ghost tribe mighty figure had given up on escaping this time. It had chosen to fight to the death. The golden eye symbol on Enlin's forehead appeared, and golden ripples proliferated outward. That's right, it could now confirm that the power to communicate with dead spirits had been snatched away by that human cultivator. The ghost tribe mighty figure faltered slightly upon seeing this. It had clearly grabbed him with its bare hands, so how did he manage to swat him away like a ball? Both of them faltered upon seeing this before Dongfang Zhuangshi yelled at Enlin, "Look out!" An inky black light imbued with boundless power soared into the sky, causing cracks to appear on the spatial seal formation that Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji had set up. The ghost tribe mighty figure was just about to capture a hostage to use as a bargaining chip to escape when Enlin delivered himself to its doorstep. How could it pass up on such a good opportunity? Blue energy exploded forth. One had to realize that it was his Yao Ji that had sliced the ghost tribe mighty figure in half. A black skeletal figure with billions of ghostly beings revolving around its body and an extremely terrifying aura wielding a crimson scythe appeared in the air again. "You forced me to do this. You forced me to do this." Inky black blood splattered through the air before being drawn back by a peculiar power before adhering to the black skeleton. Chapter 858. Within Enlin's consciousness, a vast and powerful will descended upon this world. In that instant the sky completely dimmed. An unimaginably huge black dragon that seemed to be able to cover the sky appeared in the void. It opened its eyes that were like the sun. Countless stars appeared beneath its body, and it was as if it were the ruler of all stars. Just by appearing in this world, it was able to force all things to submit to it. That's right, in that instant it was the ruler of heaven and earth. The blue evil dragon's body faltered, and it began to tremble involuntarily. The ocean was extremely vast, but it was far too minuscule compared to the black dragon that could destroy stars with a single stomp. Boundless ferocious might enshrouded the entire world as the sovereign's will descended, as if it could destroy heaven and earth with a single thought. Even Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji couldn't help but tremble in the face of this ferocious might. The ghost tribe mighty figure's face was deathly pale, and its mouth gaped open as it stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before its eyes. "It's here! Master's true body has finally appeared!" Xiao Zhe's teeth chattered as he stared up at the projection in the sky with excitement and anxiety. Back on the island in the ancient Tai Chu realm, it had been completely won over by its master's mighty body, and it had worshipped its master ever since. "So it's you who's trying to intimidate me?" The black dragon projection's words resonated with the great Tao of heaven and earth, striking fear into the hearts of onlookers. The blue evil dragon trembled uncontrollably as it shook its head frantically. "Senior, it's not me. It's him. He's forcing me to do this." The evil dragon pointed a claw at the ghost tribe mighty figure as it yelled, "Unlin, Dongfang Zhuangshi, Meng Ji, the ghost tribe mighty figure. F***ck off. You dare to insult me?" The black dragon's expression darkened. Bam! The ghost tribe mighty figure's body suddenly exploded, and a massive hole appeared on its body. "Ah!" The ghost tribe mighty figure howled with pain. Everyone was amused. This ghost race powerhouse was probably the first to be betrayed by his own weapon, right? And Lin suddenly felt like his tsundra little Xie was a pretty good person. At the very least, she wouldn't backstab him. Just as he was feeling melancholy, the storage ring in his hand flashed, and a terrifying suction force suddenly appeared. Like a vortex, the suction force completely sucked away all the energy in his body. "Holy sh**t!" He screamed in his heart. His legs went soft and he almost knelt down, but he still looked strong on the outside. Unlin looked at the black dragon and quickly figured out the ins and outs of the matter. Could it be that the black dragon needed to extract the energy within his body to attack? No wonder he had been acting tough all this while and hadn't made a move. So this was the reason. Come to think of it, would this fellow jump out and slap the face of a Dragon Clan mighty figure if he yelled at him? Xiaozi was like this, and the blue evil dragon in front of him was also like this. This setting was quite interesting. The black dragon did not disappear. Instead, it turned its attention back to the blue evil dragon. "The heart bone in your body is not bad. It can be used as the bones of my physical body." Black Dragon's voice was filled with satisfaction and desire. The blue evil dragon's body shuddered again, and it immediately turned tail and fled. So what if it was a divine tool? Divine tools also had a desire to live. The black dragon silently opened its cavernous mouth, and the space around it twisted as an indescribable power fell from the sky, instantly enshrouding the blue evil dragon's body. "No. Please spare me, Senior." The blue evil dragon roared for mercy, but the black dragon's expression remained indifferent. Unlin's legs gave out from under him, and he collapsed to the ground as he also roared for mercy in his heart. "Holy F***ck. Please spare me." The terrifying suction force appeared again, as if it was trying to suck his entire body dry. That's right, the black dragon was sucking away his energy again. Most importantly, Unlin's body had already been sucked dry. It was still sucking away his energy. It was going to make him wish he were dead. He felt as if his sea of vital energy had dried up. His powerful body of the war god was shriveling up. The power of his consciousness, which was one of the most powerful return to void stage mighty figures in the world, was also being rapidly depleted as excruciating pain swept through his entire body. However, the black dragon did not stop. The blue evil dragon's ocean-like body was instantly transported to a place invisible to the naked eye by the distorted space. Not bad. The black dragon slowly closed its eyes, and its body began to dissipate. Everyone felt the pressure weighing down on them instantly disappear, and they suddenly felt as if the world was so beautiful. Unlin lay limply on the ground, and he was on the brink of death. He suddenly felt as if the world was so cruel. "Unlin, are you all right?" Su Xiaolan let loose a cry of surprise as she rushed over to hug Unlin. Xiao Zhe's expression also shifted, and he immediately rushed over to protect Unlin. "Master, did you suffer a backlash from forcefully using your power just then? It's all right, I'll protect you with my life, and I won't let you come to any harm even if I have to give up my life." Xiaozi's imagination instantly filled in the gaps of the cause and effect of the entire incident, making a perfect explanation for his conjecture. Mengji turned to Enlin with a hint of bewilderment in her eyes. All of this was really his doing? So he was a dragon tribe super mighty figure in disguise? In this way, all sorts of illogical phenomena could be explained. Could it only project projections due to some kind of restriction? Just that alone was enough to crush any return to void stage mighty figure. Such a terrifying being, their tribe could not afford to mess with them. Mengji immediately made a decision. Even if she couldn't turn hostility into friendship, she would at least try not to mess with such a being. Ah! My evil dragon chaotic bone. Give me back my evil dragon chaotic bone. The ghost tribe mighty figure finally lost all of its rationality, and it roared as it pounced toward Enlin. Its body had sustained many devastating wounds, and its life force was about to reach its end. Now that its divine tool had been stolen, its biggest trump card was gone, and it no longer had any hope of breaking through the spatial seal set up by Dongfang Zhuangshi and Mengji. Its heart was filled with despair, and it could only fight to the death. Humph! You still want to attack Enlin? A cold harumph sounded. Dongfang Zhuangshi charged toward the ghost tribe mighty figure before materializing a crimson Kirin claw. Boom! The ghost tribe mighty figure was flattened, and its body was flattened into the crater. Ice God Seal. Mengji wielded her golden staff as she strode toward Enlin. Wind and snow howled as the space around her began to crackle and crackle. She pointed her staff into the air, and a halo imbued with the power of the extreme frost divine Tao enshrouded the ghost tribe mighty figure's body. Everything within the halo froze in place. The ghost tribe mighty figure's crazed expression and struggling body were also completely immobilized. Mengji's features were deathly pale, but she forced a vibrant smile onto her face. She turned to look at Enlin, and a faint smile appeared on her face. Mr. Enlin, the ghost tribe mighty figure has been sealed, so this is all I can do. Enlin. This high priestess. Why is she suddenly telling me this? Why is she being so polite? Chapter 859. What Enlin didn't think was that Mengji had already thought of him as a powerful mighty figure. What Mengji was implying was, I've already taken care of the enemies, so I won't disturb you any longer. Can I take my leave? Su Xiaolan also turned to look at Mengji with confusion in her eyes. If it weren't for the fact that she knew that Mengji liked crossdresser Chen Qinghang, she would most likely be asking Enlin with a knife in her hand. Enlin felt like Mengji wanted someone to praise her, so he gave her a thumbs up. Very good, you've done very well. I really admire you. Su Xiaolan. Mengji drew a sharp intake of breath to calm herself down. She reminded herself over and over again not to do anything rash. She was the high and mighty high priestess of the Snow Maidens, so there was no need to hold a grudge against that man. If there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave. Mengji forced a smile onto her face. Enlin faltered slightly upon hearing this before realizing what Mengji was implying. Wow. So he was already so powerful that even Mengji was extremely wary of him? Thinking about it, it was quite a sense of accomplishment. He naturally wasn't going to keep Mengji here. After all, this was the battlefield between the Snow Maidens and the opposite shore realm, and the Great Empress and another Tao integration stage super mighty figure were still nearby. For safety's sake, it was best to avoid conflict. All right. Enlin nodded. Then let's... He didn't even get a chance to finish his sentence before the entire world suddenly turned black and white. A terrifying chill suddenly engulfed his entire body, as if he had stumbled into the realm of death. Enlin and Su Xiaolan's hearts jolted in unison. They had seen this familiar power in Baihu City of the sinister spirit beast cesspool before. An ethereal singing voice sounded, reverberating throughout heaven and earth. A green river spread through the sky, extending into infinity and beyond. Countless semi-transparent beasts surged past like waves, and at the very center, there were 4 black-furred goats over 10,000 feet tall carrying a massive palanquin. The dark sorcery ghost was defeated to such an extent? The ethereal voice was imbued with boundless might and astonishment. Where's the evil dragon Chaos Bone? This time, the huge palanquin came to a halt. Enlin and the others suddenly felt an extremely terrifying will descend upon them. At this moment, the distant sky suddenly turned blue and white. A crisp voice that contained supreme majesty sounded, "Ghost Emperor Pajuan, if you want to escape, then escape. Don't even think about attacking a junior." A blue sword light pierced through the sky, turning the sky into a frosty blue. The sharp light tore through the void and went straight for the huge palanquin. A cold snort came from within the palanquin, and an emerald-like protective wall instantly formed. The blue sword projection struck the barrier, and over 10,000 bursts of sword chi erupted, shattering the space within a radius of over a kilometer. Countless semi-transparent beasts howled in anguish as they died. The black curtain of the palanquin was slowly lifted, and a finger stretched out. Enlin felt that the finger seemed to contain infinite power, making him unable to move at all. Green light materialized at the tip of the finger, which then transformed into an arrow over 100 feet in length. The green arrow pierced through space at extreme speed, and before Enlin and the others had a chance to react, it had already pierced through Meng Ji's ice god seal. Boom! The blue barrier shattered, and the blood-curdling cries of the dark sorcery ghost erupted into the heavens. Enlin was surprised to discover that the dark sorcery ghost's vitality was quickly fading away. "Dark sorcery ghost, the great empress is already here. I won't be able to save you, so you'll have to serve me in another form." Ghost Emperor Pajuan's voice sounded from within the palanquin. The Green River army continued onward into the distance. They appeared to be moving very slowly, but they were able to cover over 50 kilometers per second, as if the distance between the Green River and the black and white world were different. An inky black, lifeless ghost materialized beside the palanquin before lowering its head in a respectful manner. It was none other than the deceased dark sorcery ghost. "Great Empress, I'll remember the dark sorcery ghost and the chaotic evil dragon bone." Ghost Emperor Pajuan's voice was completely emotionless, but it was as if it had been branded into everyone's heart. The beast-tide army slowly disappeared into the distance. Another extremely terrifying aura, like a shooting star flashing across the sky, tore through the void and chased after the beast-tide army. Enlin had only just begun to get a little nervous before heaving a long sigh of relief. Thankfully, they weren't the great Empress target. Otherwise, they would be in a lot of trouble. Color returned to the black and white world. Meng Ji also looked up at the sky in the distance with lingering fear in her heart. She was only one step away from Dao integration stage, but she hadn't reached Dao integration stage yet, so the gap between them was like an insurmountable chasm. If Ghost Emperor Pajuan was determined to kill her, then even if the Great Empress was still behind him, there was a very good chance that she would die here. Su Xiaolan helped Enlin to his feet. Enlin's hands and legs were still trembling. The reason for this was that he had been completely drained by the black dragon, and he wouldn't be able to recover even if he drank 100 bottles of treasure of the kidney. Meng Ji was still here, and the Divine Bat Emperor was still a threat to him. Under normal circumstances, it would probably take at least half a month for him to recover. There was no other way. Enlin's storage ring flashed, and a 6th-grade healing immortal pill appeared in his palm, exuding astonishing energy fluctuations. A pained expression flashed through his face, but he still swallowed the pill in the end. He couldn't allow himself to wither away. He had to become stronger. Boom! A green divine halo appeared above his head, and he activated his stage evergreen technique to its fullest extent. The power of the pill was digested at a crazy rate, and vital energy and life energy converged to form a tidal wave that surged toward Enlin's body. Meng Ji's golden eyes widened. What astonishing regenerative abilities! Under the effects of his monstrous regenerative abilities, Enlin was back to full health within a few minutes. The effects of the immortal pill were only part of the reason, but the most important factor was the monstrous regenerative and digestive abilities that the second stage of the evergreen technique granted him. Dongfang Zhuangshi made his way over to Enlin. It's time for us to go. Ghost Emperor Pajun and the Divine Bat Emperor are quite close, so we won't be able to keep this a secret any longer. Enlin immediately came to a realization upon hearing this. He had forgotten about this as the battle had been too tense. He immediately nodded. I still have some history with the Snow Maidens. Thankfully, the Great Empress ignored us, so it is indeed time for us to leave. Everyone was just about to set off when an exquisitely beautiful woman in a golden imperial robe suddenly appeared beside Meng Ji. Even though she didn't exude any aura, everyone was still completely subdued by her aura. This woman was the most powerful being of the Snow Maidens, the Dao integration stage super mighty figure, the Snow Empress. Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyelids twitched. Is your zodiac a crow? Say what you're afraid of, and it will come. Enlin. The Great Empress recognized Enlin, and her eyes flashed. She didn't seem to know what was going on, and she turned to the woman beside her. Mengji, tell me what's going on. Chapter 860. Everyone turned to Mengji with nervous expressions on their faces. The fates of Enlin and the others were in Mengji's hands to a very large extent. Thankfully, the Great Empress wasn't the type of person to start a fight right from the get-go. Otherwise, Enlin and the others would be in dire straits. From the Great Empress' perspective, Enlin was definitely an enemy of the Snow Maidens. He was the type of enemy that she would want to kill as soon as she discovered him. However, Mengji didn't seem to harbor any enmity toward them, which was quite perplexing to the Great Empress. It was also because of this that the Great Empress calmed down and tried to figure out what was going on. Enlin and the others could only pray that Mengji would tell them the truth and not twist the truth. If she could tell them that they had teamed up against the enemy, then they would have a sliver of a chance to escape. If a battle really did break out, they would be the cowards. Dongfang Zhuangshi was a Dao integration stage mythological beast, but he was only a half-dead one. In terms of combat prowess, he was only slightly more powerful than a mighty figure at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage. If the Great Empress really did attack, then they would be in a very dangerous situation. Unless the middle-aged man suddenly made a breakthrough, it would be very difficult for them to even escape, let alone defeat the Great Empress. Mengji paused momentarily before speaking in a calm voice. At the time, I was battling the Ghost Tribe mighty figure, and was about to perish. However, they bravely stepped forward to save me from my perilous situation. Enlin's eyes widened. A faint blush appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face. Su Xiaolan and the others were also dumbstruck. Did they hear that right? Mengji was saying that they bravely stepped forward to save her from her perilous situation? Were they really that enthusiastic? It was clearly Dongfang Zhuangshi who had been sucked toward them for some reason before being forced to join them. They really wanted Mengji to tell the truth, but they didn't think that her words would be so touching. However, the Great Empress wasn't easy to fool. She turned toward Enlin and the others before speaking in a cold voice. I don't understand. Why did you save my tribe's high priestess? Enlin and Su Xiaolan both had a vendetta against the Snow Maidens. Even so, they still chose to help them. No matter how one looked at it, it was very strange. Enlin's brows relaxed as he replied in a calm voice. That's right, I don't like you Snow Maidens. However, the dark sorcery ghost killed our good friend, the divine poison frog, so we have to find an opportunity to kill it to avenge the divine poison frog. Dongfang Zhuangshi, Su Xiaolan, Xiaozi, Gluttony, and the peerless saber demon all wore expressions of grief. Ao Nyo's tears flowed down its face upon hearing this, and it looked extremely nostalgic. Who said that honest cow couldn't act? Whenever it thought about how the divine poison frog had left just like that, an inexplicable sense of sorrow welled up in its heart. Its acting skills were top-notch, but it could also be said that it was acting for real divine poison frog? The female monarch frowned. Mengji interjected, I didn't know about that. I was wondering why Enlin and that middle-aged man were so enraged to battle the dark sorcery ghost. So it was because of that. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, Dongfang Zhuangshi chimed in. The female monarch. The woman in the imperial robe swept her gaze over all of the living beings before settling on Enlin with a smile. The dark sorcery ghost is already in the past. Aren't you afraid that I'll attack you again? Enlin chuckled. We have no intention of fighting, but if you want to fight, then let's fight. Big sister, how about we just let this matter rest? Mengji interjected. The female monarch looked at Mengji with a hint of surprise before turning to Enlin and the others, only to find that their expressions remained unchanged. She looked at Enlin with a meaningful expression before heaving a faint sigh. So be it. Seeing as Mengji was saved by you, let's call it a day. We'll still be enemies the next time we meet. I'm glad to hear that. Enlin smiled. You're relieved that I let you go this time? A hint of a smile appeared on the female monarch's face. No. Enlin shook his head. I'm saying that we'll still be enemies the next time we meet. That's exactly what I was thinking as well. Thank goodness we've come to an agreement. The female monarch's smile stiffened. Mengji, Dongfang Zhuangshi, Su Xiaolan looked at the man beside her with a serious expression. He was super handsome. Then you have to be careful next time, my enemy. The female monarch came to her senses and spoke in an indifferent voice. All right, farewell. Enlin joined his hands in a salute with a smile. Let's go. In the past, Enlin was a nobody, and the female monarch wasn't even interested in remembering his name. But now, the female monarch was referring to him as an enemy. This was a clear indication that Enlin's position in her heart had changed. However, Enlin wasn't smug in the slightest. In fact, he felt extremely exhausted. However, he still had to maintain his composure so that the female monarch wouldn't think that he was a coward. Roar! The 10,000-foot-long black dragon carried Enlin and the others into the air before flying into the distance. The female monarch didn't stop them, and they left in a carefree manner. Only Enlin and the others knew just how perilous the situation had been. If the conditions allowed it, they would have long thought of leaving. The female monarch looked at the departing Enlin and the others with a curious expression. Priestess, can you tell me why you let Enlin and the others go now? Mengji faltered slightly upon hearing this before a wry smile appeared on her face. This woman was the monarch of all snow maidens, so she wasn't going to be so easily fooled. Enlin is a dragon tribe mighty figure in disguise. Mengji finally replied. Very powerful? The female monarch didn't scoff or disbelieve this. Instead, she was quite curious. To be able to stand together with her and argue with her so calmly, if he was really an ordinary soul formation cultivator, then that would really be strange. Mengji's heart trembled slightly as she recalled the projection that stood at the pinnacle of the stars. Very powerful. He's most likely a being at the Tao integration stage or above. The female monarch's expression shifted slightly before she nodded. Even if his power has been sealed, there's still a limit to how much power he can unleash. There are simply too many variables, so there's no need to provoke him. You've done a good job. Mengji nodded in agreement. We've made far too many enemies, and we really can't afford to provoke a mighty figure like Enlin. The female monarch fell silent. Mengji, by the way, about this battle, Ghost Emperor Pejun has agreed to cede 10 large cities and 100 small cities as temporary refuge for us snow maidens, the female monarch replied. Isn't that too little? There's no way so many of us can live in such a small place. Mengji was a little concerned. Let's settle them down first. We'll think of a way to deal with the rest. It's fine as long as all of our brethren can survive. The female monarch turned toward the east, where there was a boundless expanse of snow and ice, as if something terrifying were brewing. For the sake of our brethren, we have to be prepared to become demons at any moment. We have no other choice. Tears welled up in Meng Ji's eyes upon hearing this, but she nodded with a solemn expression. Yes, I've already prepared to sacrifice myself.